Right off the bat, we've got a crash. 40 eastbound after Church Street. Police on the scene there. Then West Nashville, West End, in fact. We got 440 eastbound right there at West End. That's going to be exit 1 right there as you're getting on to 440. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Just after 3 o'clock, 3:07 to be precise. My name is Matt Murphy, not Brian Wilson. This is The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm pleased you've decided to join us today, whatever time you're able to give us. We're certainly appreciative of it, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or the full 4 hours. Thank you, thank you, thank you. From all of us to all of you. I would love to start the show with a little more fun and frivolity, especially during the holiday season. But as you've been listening to Ken Weaver back in the newsroom, as you've been listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN, you know that there's some very serious breaking news going on in Madison, Wisconsin. That is probably closer to our hearts in Nashville than even some, as we have experienced the type of situation that we're watching unfold in Madison. If you're just joining us, if you're just turning on your radio, you've not been familiarized with the news of earlier today. There was a shooting that happened at a K-12 Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin, that we now believe has led to the death of 3, including the shooter, a teacher and a teenager killed, and the shooter themselves dead. We don't have a lot of details in addition to that. Ken Weaver, I know you're back in the newsroom.
Yes, sir.
Covering this story. So if there are any details that you have about this situation, please let us know. I was just listening or watching Chief Sean Barnes of the Madison, Wisconsin Police Department, and Chief Barnes was on top of this situation as best he could be. He was delivering as much information as he possibly could as that press conference is just wrapping up as we speak, Ken.
Yeah, he says that among the 6 that are injured, some of those are in a life-threatening situation.
Oh, dear.
The others, are going to be okay, but I can't remember the exact number of injured he said are in that critical stage. He said they're in the process of getting some search warrants to gather more evidence. He said they are interviewing witnesses. But as far as the teenaged shooter goes, he did not give us any information on that. It wouldn't even didn't even name the gender.
Right.
So they're being very tight-lipped about that.
Well, I mean, that's where we start the show. That's how we start the show. Ken Weaver's going to keep us updated all afternoon long. Good to see you back in News Closet B, Ken. And I appreciate anything that you get that is of interest. You know what to do, man. Just jump on in here and let us know all about it. We've got Chris Weber back in the saddle after a week of vacation. We'll talk about that a little down the road, but we're glad to have you back, Mr. Weber.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to be back.
I hope everything went well.
It was nice.
Yeah, good. Where'd you go?
I went over to Gatlinburg.
All right, I've got many questions. After we get out the necessary news, I've got many questions later on down the road.
Fair enough.
About because I need to go.
Oh, you haven't been yet.
Well, in my 3 years since I've come to Nashville and come to Tennessee, I've been to many places in this great state. I've been up to Bristol and down to Memphis and all points in between, but have not been to Gatlinburg yet.
Yeah, you got to see that.
I went when I think the last time I was trying to figure it out when you told me you were going. I think it's like I was 13.
Oh, so it's been a long time.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's probably more fun now than it was back then.
Your willingness to go, your enjoyment of that area of the world, actually, I feel like it's making me want to go more.
Yeah. I mean, I could be setting you up for disappointment. It's not for everybody.
Well, I mean, I get it. No, it's like, I feel like it's, I'll find out. We'll talk a little bit later on. All right, so there's lots to get into today. Obviously, Donald Trump held a press conference earlier today, and that's where I was starting the show prior to the news that there was a school shooting involving young people in Madison, Wisconsin. So we're going to crank it up right there. What we know is that there was, well, I just told you. We know that there were 3 killed in total and several wounded during a shooting at a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin this afternoon. The police just finished up a press conference. There was a statement that 3 people, including the shooter, are deceased as a result of the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School. A total of 9 people were injured, including the 3 deceased. Earlier in the day, police had erroneously said that there were additional people that were killed. You have to get it, and I think we all do. We have been in this breaking news society long enough now. With the advent of social media, with the advent of the internet, and with the ability that we have to process news and information at a moment's notice, no matter where we are, as long as we have an internet signal, as long as we really have a telephone signal, we can access news and information at the tip of our fingertips. I heard Elon Musk say it several months ago, and it's absolutely true, that each of us in our pocket carry the ability to access more information in our pockets than the President of the United States had access to in 1984. I mean, and that's an incredible statement, and maybe it's even 1994, but it is true. So with that ability to access information, with the immediacy of that information comes, obviously, misinformation. And no one's trying to misinform you. It's a simple matter of facts being misinterpreted or things leaking out that should not leak out. People report that information, and it becomes somewhat of a feeding frenzy. If someone throws out the figure 5, for example, I'm not talking about 5 deaths, just the number 5, and the number is really 3, a lot of people go after that 5 before it is corrected, and then it takes a lot more energy and effort to correct the misinformation than it would have to get it right to begin with. I'm not faulting anybody for any of that. That's just the nature of what we do. I would love to pretend that we at Supertalk 99.7 WTN never get it wrong when it comes to breaking news, but that's the nature of breaking news. And what we do try to do, at least on my side of the glass, I don't pretend to understand how Ken does his business, but on my side of the glass, what we try to do is to tell you, hey, this is breaking news. This is fluid. We're trying to provide as much information as we can. Some of this might change. And I did hear Ken Weaver say that earlier today, which is part of what we do in this format. So forgive the news agencies, and I can't believe I'm saying this about mainstream media, but forgive those news agencies that sometimes erroneously report information when they're trying to get the best information out as quickly as possible. Now, some of those are irresponsible, and some, throw it out there because they absolutely want to be first. And in the case of tragedy like this, where you're talking about people's lives, that can come back and come as egg on your face to a certain degree. But one way or the other, we try to be as accurate as we possibly can. So sadly, a lot of times that misinformation gets out there before you can get the proper information on a breaking news subject, because news happens so fast. I mean, it's hard to remember. It's hard to remember, but it is a fact that there was a time in our lifetime, and I'm 51. I think I'm now getting old. I don't think of myself as old, but I think I've crossed the Rubicon, so to speak. But in my lifetime, there was a time where we would not have heard or talked about this until tomorrow. Maybe tonight on the evening news. It might have made the evening news. But for the most part, we would not have been discussing this information. And now it is leading every major 24-hour news network, and it's leading just about every talk radio show and every headline and every radio newscast in America, as it should. But with that speed comes other traps, loopholes, pitfalls, call them what you will, that you have to be careful for. It's just a new way of understanding how news is processed in a breaking fashion. Inside the school, I will tell you this, just to follow up on some of this information. Madison police are saying that 3 are dead, as I mentioned, the shooter and a teacher and a teenager. A total of 9 people injured. Earlier in the day, police had erroneously said 5 people were dead, a mistake that they acknowledged. Inside the school, officers found a deceased juvenile believed to be the shooting suspect. According to Police Chief Sean Barnes, the suspect is thought to have been a student at the school. Police have thus far, and I believe in this press conference they did it as well, they have declined to release details on the victims or the shooter. Officers were dispatched to the school around 10:57 Eastern Time. That would be 9:57 Middle Tennessee time. After receiving a call about an active shooter situation, officers did not fire their weapons when they arrived at the school. One of the things that I did here right before we came on air, and it reminded me of my good friend and what an asset in Middle Tennessee he is. He's the owner of Defend Systems, Brink Fiddler, who often says when he comes on that the dynamic of how police respond to any of this changed dramatically after Columbine, not just in school settings, but in any setting where there's the public gathered, because they recognize that they could not wait on a stronger force to arrive because the possibility existed that people were dying or that people who had been shot possibly could die because of the time lapse between the time that you get into these situations versus the way that they used to do it. In Columbine, as an example, and anyone that remembers that tragedy, the true tragedy was, well, obviously the true tragedy was that two evil-minded human beings decided to take out their evil on groups of others at Columbine High School. But the nature of that tragedy was exacerbated because the standard operating procedure at the time was if you go in and you don't know what type of individuals are inside, you don't know if they're barricading, you don't know if they're hostage taking, and you do not have appropriate firepower, you wait outside if you're a police officer for superior firepower, for SWAT, or some units to assess the situation and descend upon whatever situation that there is with superior numbers and superior weapons. Columbine changed everything. Now our police officers, and it's one of the reasons that I try to honor them every single day I'm on radio and every single day of my life, because those officers are sworn to protect and to serve. And part of that protection and service is their willingness to go into one of these situations having no idea what they're facing. It reminds me of the Covenant School shooting, where a police officer whose name escapes me as I speak here right now, but I'll get it in a second. The initial police officer that went into the Covenant School, he knew that there was an AR-15 style weapon being fired out of that building. He knew that that was a long gun, commonly referred to as an assault rifle, which really isn't a term that means anything, but in common parlance. And that officer, knowing that he did not have body protection and knowing that he did not have a long gun, went in anyway. Immediately accessed that building and went in with his pistol because he knew that lives were at risk. Similarly, when Madison police officers descended upon this Christian school, the Abundant Life Christian School today, they did the same thing. They went in and the situation, it appears, was over prior to them being able to find, apprehend, or neutralize the suspect in this case. But that's what officers do now. You stop the killing, and then the order, and this is literally the order. Y'all tell me if I'm getting this wrong, guys. I know we have a lot of police officers that listen to the show. You stop the killing, and then you stop the dying in that order. And so, sadly, police officers know, and I believe that this actually occurred. You can watch this in the body cam video at the Covenant School shooting, and it rips your guts out to know that they did it the right way. When that officer, those first officers that went in, they walked past a body. And I think that it was Catherine Coons. And they did that because of the order of importance. You have to stop the killing and then stop the dying. And apparently that's what Madison police had to do today at the Abundant Life Christian School. We'll discuss it. I mean, we know what is coming. We will assess the situation. We'll take in the information, and we'll try to digest it as best as we can. But we know what's coming from the political left. It's what always comes from the political left. And as I said about to Chad Benson moments ago during the cross between Chad and myself, liberals do not see value in guns. And if we want to have honest discussion about how to stop these types of issues, we will never stop them completely in a freedom-loving society. That's first that you have to understand. We will never completely immune ourselves from evildoers committing evil against us if we want to live in a free and open society. Secondarily, if we want to have an honest and earnest conversation with people on the political left that say, get rid of the guns, eliminate the gun, I mean, I would almost guarantee you, I don't know, and I'm not trying to politicize it, I would almost guarantee you that Senator Heidi Campbell from right here in Nashville, Tennessee, has already posted something about it's the guns on her social media platforms. Because that's what liberals do. Because they do not see value in self-defense. They do not see value or a positive in guns. And they have done a pretty damn good job of attempting to infect, I said infect, our children with this mentality. And we do have to push back against that. And so while I do not welcome this conversation, because sadly, it is always precipitated by violence and death, I am ready for it. And you should be too, because we know what's coming. I'd love to get your calls on it, your thoughts on it, 615-737-9986. Always an open book on the Matt Murphy version of The Drive on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. It's Monday, December 16. It's my episode 714. It's Locks for Trump Day 289. Thank you for being with us on Supertalk. So you've got family coming over for the holidays. I mean, my goodness, it's the 16th. We're counting them down now. We've got less than 10 days to go before the jolly old man comes down the chimney. Well, if he's bringing critters with him, if there's like spiders and roaches and bugs in the chimney, Santa might not stay. I mean, I'm just letting you know. So what do you do about that? You call US Pest and let them handle it. Maybe you've dealt with bugs in 2024 and you want to eliminate that in 2025. There's only one company to call, JK, Erica Brister, and US Pest, because they can eliminate those bugs. They can eliminate those rodents that find refuge in your home during the cold wintertime months, and they'll do it for great value, and it will take care of business. I'm telling you, 100% money-back guarantee on your full-service pest control and your termite protection and your crawl space service. Call them, US Pest, the number 590-1260. That's 590-1260 for our friends at US Pest.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing. The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Wisconsin school shooting. President-elect Trump says there's got to be a deal in Ukraine. TikTok asking the U.S. Supreme Court for an emergency ruling. These stories and more at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Rex Engelberg, I believe, was the name of the officer that eventually took out the Covenant school shooter. And I'm not trying to conflate the issue. I was talking to 3354 there on the super text line, and I'm not arguing with you, I promise you, about it. I was discussing and I'm not trying to make a big point out of what is a small point. I know that Engelberg had a long gun. I know that once they encountered the suspect, another officer had gotten to the scene with a long gun. I'm talking about the police officer that pulled up to the scene. He talked to the woman. You see it in his body cam footage. He talked to a woman who was on scene. He was asking her about keys. They were trying to figure out the door to access. He went in, and I believe he just went in with a handgun. But, yes, he met up with, I guess it was Engelberg, at some point in the hallway. I think I'm remembering this correctly. So I promise you 3354. I'm not arguing with you about it. But I do know that an officer entered the building for the purposes of engaging the suspect with a short gun, knowing that suspect had a long gun. I think that's a fair way to say it. Anyway, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 28 minutes after the hour. My name's Matt Murphy, and for Brian. Brian's here until the 24th, and then it is off to his grand reward.
The North Pole?
No, part of his grand reward is going to be he's president of the Chamber of Commerce of Watertown, Tennessee.
That's a big step up.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, it's a step up.
They going to get a Taco Bell?
I don't know. You know what you're going to have? You know who you're going to have to ask, Ken Weaver?
You're going to have to ask Brother Brian Wilson.
The PCOP. Oh, no, dadgummit, I did it wrong. The PCOC, the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Watertown, Tennessee. I bet he can get us a Taco Bell over there.
Yeah?
Yeah, call it PCOC. Don't call it the Peacock.
Okay. Now I'm going to call it the Peacock. That's kind of...
He's going to strut his stuff.
Wilson is the Peacock of Watertown, Tennessee. Hey, look, I was at Weber, you were out of town.
Yeah.
And Weaver, you were under the weather.
Yeah, well, I wasn't.
Well, the family
Miss
was.
Weaver.
Yeah, Ms. Weaver was under the weather. But I was at the retirement party. Now, he was peacocking in his nice jacket, his Christmas jacket. Oh, he looked good.
I'm kind of disappointed. I haven't seen any photographic evidence of this.
I think I can find one. Now, when he stood next to Cabana Wife, he disappeared. Because that's what happens when you stand next to Cabana Wife. Yeah. But it was a good time, man. It was fun. He was running around like I love the Wilson shindigs. And all you have to do, really, I learned something. All you have to do, you just put into your, if you don't know where the Wilsons live in Watertown, if you just type into your GPS, biggest house in Watertown, it takes you right there.
Right there.
It just takes you right there.
Can't miss it.
You can't miss it. It's right behind the church. Anyway, big time was had by all. And yes, so Brian will be here until the 24th. I will be in my normal slot, noon to 3 tomorrow. And I realized that's my last day in the noon to 3 slot. And then I'm permanently slid over into the afternoon zone. You're stuck with me, Weber.
So it's too late, huh? Nothing that I can do?
I told, once they shook all this out and we were told by the powers that be how all of this would shake, Ken Weaver is just such a delightful human being. I knew he would be cool. But
Checks in the mail.
But I went to Weber and, with my hat in my hand, and I said something along the lines of, we good with all of this? And I think you said something like, I've had worse. I think that's...
It sounds like not so many words, yeah.
That sounds like Brother Chris.
I've
had worse.
I've had worse.
I've had a lot better, but anyway, we'll have a good time. All right, we'll catch you up with what's going on in Madison, and we'll talk about ABC and George Stephanopoulos coming up in a moment. $16 million to old DJT and his foundation. We're going to cover it for you in just a moment, right after the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, the situation is this in Madison, Wisconsin. You have 3 killed, including the gunman. at a K-12 Christian school. The dead are a teacher, teenaged student, and the teenaged gunman, whom police say was a student at the school. 6 others are in the hospital. Some of them are critical. Police Chief Sean Barnes would not say whether the shooter was a boy or a girl or say what the motive was.
We're currently processing the scene. We're interviewing those who may have been witnesses, and we're obtaining search warrants to get additional information.
Happened today right before 11 o'clock Eastern Time at Abundant Life Christian School, which online says has 390 students K through high school. President-elect Trump urging an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine, calling on both sides to work toward a deal to end the fighting. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The president-elect says too many people have died in Ukraine.
It's a carnage that we haven't seen since the Second World War.
At a Mar-a-Lago news conference, Trump was asked if Ukraine should be prepared to cede territory to Russia. Trump answered that Volodymyr Zelensky should be prepared to make a deal.
Got to be a deal. Too many people being killed. That is a war that's too many people. Got to make a deal.
In recent weeks, Zelensky has signaled Ukraine might agree to give up its Russian-occupied territory in exchange for NATO membership.
TikTok hoping the Supreme Court steps in to block that federal law that will ban the popular platform in the United States unless its China-based parent company agrees to sell it by January 19th. TikTok lawyers asking the U.S. Supreme Court for an emergency ruling today. TikTok has more than 170 million users in the U.S. And President-elect Trump announcing SoftBank promising to invest $100 billion in the United States, creating at least 100,000 jobs focused on AI.
It will help ensure that artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and other industries of tomorrow are built, created, and grown right here in the USA.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got a crash 40 westbound in Bellevue. That's right there before Old Hickory Boulevard. Then north of town, 24 eastbound in Jolton. That's going to be right there at Whites Creek Pike. Then in West Nashville, a crash at 440 eastbound at West End. That's going to be exit 1. Right now, seeing some police activity in Pegram. It has Charlotte Pike westbound shut down between Newsom Station Road and McCrory Lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being with us on the drive. Matt Murphy in until 7 o'clock. You can find us on a variety of platforms, and we invite you to explore all of them. Let's see. There's the radio side of things, 99.7 FM, of course, 100,000 watts of Blue Torch power. Then there's the streaming apps. You can find us on any streaming application you use. I could name them all at the iHeart or the Spotify, or there's a bunch of them. We're everywhere. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and off you go. Now, if we're not there, tell us, and we'll get there. And then, of course, there's our own app. You can download us in your app store and take us wherever you want on your smartphone technology, your laptop, or whatever. And then the final way that you can participate in the show is Talk TV. I don't necessarily recommend it for the faint of heart, especially when I'm on Talk TV, but there it is, Super Talk TV, available YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Just do me a favor, and if you go over there and you look at this ugly mug, like and subscribe. Would you do that for us? Because that helps us out. Just gives the old thumbs up, or wherever you are, just hit the like button or the subscribe button, and that would help us out a lot. It's a little ask and a big assist. Thank you so much for participating. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. 615-737-9986. So we talked about this in the aftermath of Covenant, and I want to finish the thought before I move on to ABC, George Stephanopoulos, and Donald Trump's press conference earlier today. So one of the advancements that the political left has made in the gun debate in my time having these types of conversations with you that I've noticed, I would not describe myself as a Second Amendment absolutist. Only in how I describe or define certain things am I an absolutist. And here's what I mean, is that I think we've taken way too many steps to limit the ability for law-abiding Americans to own, to keep, and bear arms. I think that if we are to use the language presented by the Founding Fathers, then we need to use all the language. And so my standard rests on, when it comes to the Second Amendment, my standard rests on two words: bear and arms. And if you cannot bear it, then the Constitution is not providing you an ability to own it. So unless you can bear that, that nuke on your shoulder, then you don't get to own it. Now, if we want to change that, we can change it. But bear, the words mean things in the Constitution, and you can say, and if you start telling me, well, the Founding Fathers had no idea what type of arms we would talk, now you're using the language of the left, because that's the same language that they use to claim that we ought to go back to muskets. I'm not doing that. I'm just using the language. And secondarily, it has to be an arm, and I assume that we could have some, worthwhile discussion about what is defined as an arm. I don't think a suitcase nuke is an arm. Ergo, I do not believe that individuals should have the right to own a suitcase nuke. Is that fair? Is that fair? One thing the left has done in our discussions, particularly when it comes on the heels of human tragedy, is they have infused in the psyche of many, many Americans that guns introduced in any situation are always a bad thing. And by extension, the conclusion, especially amongst our younger generation, some, not all, obviously, I'm not talking about your kids, because I'm certain that you're teaching your kids responsible gun ownership, etc. But amongst many in the younger generation, guns are always a bad thing when introduced to any given situation, ergo guns are bad. Well, a gun is neither bad nor good. A gun is a tool. Just like a shovel is neither, with a shovel, we could dig a well and provide water for an entire community. With a shovel, I can bury people, So a shovel is a tool. A gun, similarly, is a tool for use in positive circumstances or negative circumstances. But what the political left has managed to do is dig into the psyche of our youngsters and really the fabric of our America, and they utilized bullying tactics for corporate America in order to do a lot of this. And I am here to kind of deconstruct this house of cards paradigm that they've created. Why do you think it is that we accept things like gun-free zones? Why do you think it is that we accept the idea that most businesses are gun-free businesses? Quote unquote. I would not suggest that privately owned businesses don't have the right to set up their own standards of service. And I, as a customer, can politely decline the opportunity to frequent there. And oftentimes, I demonstrate more of a don't ask, don't tell policy in my own life. I don't know how you guys live your lives, but I suppose I am technically breaking the law all the time. Because I conceal carry, and in many circumstances, I'm going to conceal carry in places that may have a no guns allowed policy. And if they do, they have one of those signs. And it's weird because wherever they put those signs, I never see them. I just don't. You know, I sometimes I even look for them, and I never see them. It's weird. But I don't see those no guns allowed. Now, if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, sir, we think you might be the concealed carrying. We don't allow guns here. Oh, my bad. I'll leave and never come back. Don't ask, don't tell works pretty well for me. But it's only necessary because of the manner in which we've infused in American society that guns or keeping and carrying your guns in public places is automatically going to lead to a negative outcome. There's a lot of reasons for this on a psychological level, but one of the biggest reasons is that, sadly, the mainstream media chooses not to report when law-abiding citizens utilize their ability to defend themselves and others for positive outcomes in these circumstances. I'm thinking there was a case, and I won't get the details right, the mall case where that young man left the headlines in 2 days. He was like a young 21 or 22-year-old. He was in the mall with his girlfriend, and somebody started shooting it, and he shot this dude. He neutralized the threat from like 30 yards with a pistol. 30 yards? It's an incredible shot. Boom, got him down, then popped him again, just for good measure. Good for him. And that guy is off the front pages in a nanosecond because of the narrative that the mainstream media wants to present to you that guns are never good in a public situation. And because of lawyers and because corporate America defers to their legal department, the legal department says, okay, will we get sued if a bad guy comes in and shoots up the place and we say no guns allowed versus will we get sued? I mean, right? I mean, so their dynamic is that we should just say no guns allowed, and that might protect us in a court of law in a civil matter. And it has had psychological effect. 6362, you're speaking my language on the super text line. He said, if I'm there, it's not a gun-free zone. And I feel the same way. My standard is simple. If I walk into a dynamic by which they're going to frisk me or check to make sure if I have a gun or not, then I review the situation, I look over the situation, and I ask myself, are they doing their due diligence and making sure that I'm safe? In other words, I understand why in a court of law, if I'm in divorce, I'm in a whatever, divorce court came to mind for some reason, I don't know why, but if I'm in divorce court or if I'm in a criminal court or a civil court, I can understand why that is a place of high levels of emotion and why an expectation would be there that you are not allowed to bring a weapon into that situation. But on balance, I look at the government and I say, okay, well, you have an expectation, or I have an expectation that you are going to protect me in any situation where something goes wrong. Do you have that responsibility about you? If I go to Nissan Stadium, they don't let you have a weapon inside a Nissan Stadium, a gun inside a Nissan Stadium. Do you have security? So it's a balancing act in some places. I get that. But for the most part, society has determined that we're going to create these gun-free zones that have never, ever, ever worked, nor have they ever stopped me from doing what I need to do to defend myself. That's my piece on it. Dina is got a thought on it out of Bellevue. Hey, Dina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Here's my thought. I'm the youngest of siblings. And my father, God rest his soul, was a police sergeant. We were taught at an early age to respect the gun, and we do, and all of us know how to use them. It's common sense, and you pretty much took the words out of my mouth when you said "don't ask, don't tell." I was going to have a little statement on that too, but I agree with you 100%. I'll hang up and let you talk. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Dina. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll reflect on that coming up in just a moment after we take a short time out. But look, for the most part, those of us who grew up around the South, I mean, I know that I'm preaching to the choir in a large way because most of you grew up like I did. I grew up in a little town called Thompson, Georgia, Thomson in Thompson. And my grandpa started taking me hunting at an early age before I could. I mean, he bought me a BB gun when I was probably 7. I shot my first .22 rifle when I was, 10. And then I got my 12-gauge shotgun when I was 12 years old. And took a gun safety course, and off you go. And we learned the proper way to do it and the way not to do it. And I'm not suggesting that this is an era that we can necessarily go back to because I understand things are different, you know. You can't expect the kids to just be out all day on a Saturday and do whatever they want to and take candy from the guy in the van and there not be consequences. No one's suggesting that. And I know that I come off as the old man on the front porch here, but when I lived with my grandparents, I slept in a bed every night when I was 10 years old, and there was a gun rack on the wall with loaded guns in the gun rack. My grandfather had a gun. It wasn't a gun safe. It was just a gun cabinet with a glass door on the front with the guns in it. And you know where the key was? In the door. Because my grandpa didn't want to lose it. And I never thought of it. Never thought of it. And I don't even remember how he did it to create a dynamic that I never thought of it. But I knew I had a healthy respect for those guns. So I don't know if we're still teaching that in our youngsters or not. Dina says that she was taught that. I was taught that at a young age as well. 51 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
We'll tell you what we've learned about the Christian school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. President-elect Trump comments on vaccines, drones, and Luigi Mangione. TikTok went to the U.S. Supreme Court today asking for an emergency ruling. All that and more at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, it's funny Ken Weaver mentions that. By the way, my name's Matt Murphy. Thank you for being around. There's Ken Weaver back in News Closet B. Chris Weber is running the show. Easy for me to say. It's funny that he mentioned that because, I watched almost all of the Trump press conference. I didn't see right at the beginning of his opening statement, but I watched all of the questions and answers, and I was fascinated because, let me tell you, when Trump is on his game, he is on his game, and he puts aggressive reporters on their heels in a way that no other politician in my lifetime has done. And he was asked a question, and I'm going to wait until the 4 o'clock hour to answer this or to play some of the audio. I don't want to get in front of Ken, but he was asked a question about TikTok, and he was like, look, just to paraphrase what the Trump man said, he said, I got a soft spot in my heart for TikTok. TikTok helped me win the election, for goodness sake. And then he went on to talk about Barron Trump, his son, and suggesting that he make inroads with the younger generation utilizing some of that technology, which he did. And I think Donald Trump said that he turned the youth vote by 30 points.
34.
34 points?
Yeah.
I mean, man, oh, man. So he said, yeah, I got a soft spot in my heart. Maybe we'll do something about it. So we'll get into that in just a moment. The New York Post has asked a question, and I think it fits. We don't know what the motivations are in Madison, Wisconsin, and I don't want to speculate on it. I mean, an absence of information leads to speculation, but I don't want to do that. But the ruling is in on Luigi Mangione and his disdain for capitalism and his frustration with the free market at large and how that led him to a hatred of the healthcare system, generally speaking. And obviously, more specifically, he was making a point by targeting CEO Brian Thompson. But the New York Post has asked the question through an opinion piece, and I think it's an important one. Is it not time for a national conversation about left-wing violence? I mean, anytime someone right of center does anything wrong, we need to have a national conversation about right-wing violence, right? How many left-wingers are willing to commit violence or agree with violence committed before we have this conversation? We'll crank it up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's time for news. It is The Drive. Thank you for listening. Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson. Stand by.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Brian Wilson with your market report. Mixed boards today. Dow Jones Industrials down 110 points. The S&P up 22. Pretty good day on the NASDAQ, up 247. What's driving the market? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Yeah, Brian, kind of mixed boards across the market today. But, yeah, the NASDAQ, I'll tell you, that's something else. We actually had 4 main stocks hit all-time highs today. Google, Amazon, Apple, and Tesla. Tesla hit an all-time high, is almost near a $1.5 trillion valuation. That's pretty amazing. Big news this week is going to be the Fed rate decision. That's coming on Wednesday. The market is getting in position for that. But before that, tomorrow, we're going to get retail sales, which is going to be big going into the holidays. It's going to tell us a lot about the consumer. And then, of course, all eyes are going to be on the Fed on Wednesday. Widely expected that the Fed's going to drop rates 1/4 point. So we'll see if they do that. The market's probably going to cheer that if they do. So pretty big week for the overall economy.
Thank you, John. And to learn what John Maxon and the other good people at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Madison, Wisconsin, a Christian school shooting has left a student and teacher dead. The suspect, a teenage student at the school, also dead. 6 others injured, some of them critically. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes says the shooter's family is cooperating with police as they try to determine a motive for the shooting.
I don't know why, and I felt like if we did know why, we could stop these things from happening.
The ATF and the FBI on the scene at the Abundant Life Christian School, which has about 390 students, K through 12. President-elect Trump taking several questions from reporters today at Mar-a-Lago. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
At a wide-ranging news conference, President-elect Trump vowed his health secretary won't block access to the polio vaccine.
Well, I'm a big believer in it.
Still, he pointed to an increase in autism rates and said RFK Jr. will report back.
We're going to find out a lot.
Doctors insist there is no link between vaccines and autism. Trump alleged the government knows more than it's saying about drones.
For some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
And he lamented that the alleged killer of United Healthcare CEO now has a following.
How people can like this guy is, that's a sickness.
TikTok hoping the U.S. Supreme Court steps in as soon as today to stop it from being banned in the U.S. Lawyers for the Chinese-based company that owns the platform asking the justices for an emergency ruling to stop the law, stating it sell or get banned by January 19th. The Supreme Court could temporarily put the law on hold so that justices can give fuller consideration to First Amendment and other issues. They also could quickly schedule arguments, try to render a decision by January 19th, or they could just simply do nothing and let the law take effect January 19th as is. A Texas woman who just wanted to print a Thanksgiving recipe off the internet ended up losing her life's savings. Jim Ryan says the woman had fallen for a pop-up scam.
A pop-up window advises that the computer is infected with a virus and that the user should call a specific phone number. Over 3 days, a woman in Pasadena, Texas was convinced that she needed to move all of the funds in her bank account to what she thought was a new account. Pasadena Police Detective Jonathan Jernigan.
You just need to question everything. Every phone call you get, every email you get, every text message you get.
The victim in Pasadena, a woman in her 80s, handed over $150,000 to scammers.
Sorry about that, Jim. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, still seeing this police activity that TDOT is reporting, and it is causing quite the backup. Charlotte Pike westbound between Newsom Station Road and McCrory Lane. Then in Goodlettsville, got a crash. Gallatin Pike North, going to be right there at Conference Drive. Bellevue, you got 40 westbound right before Old Hickory Boulevard. Police there on the scene of a crash. And 65 southbound, right after Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. The left two lanes are blocked there at exit 95. And then Briley Parkway southbound at I-40 East near the airport. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is The Drive. Matt Murphy on this Monday in for Brian Wilson. Brian back tomorrow. Brian will be here, I think, every weekday from tomorrow until Christmas Eve.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I think that's correct. So he is on it full time until he says sayonara in his retirement. As we mentioned, first hour, big retirement shindig over the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. Seeing Brian relaxed and enjoying his 50 years of broadcasting, and it was good times had by all that attended over the weekend in Watertown. So, all right, so I don't mean to go backwards. You always want to go forwards in radio. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and we're doing so. But Ken Weaver just delivered some of the more important traffic points and problems that folks are experiencing if they are on the road. Ken, I did not hear the full traffic report. I started to insert myself in it, and I decided I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well.
But I have a question.
Okay.
Did you talk about the big-ass boulder in Pegram?
No, I did not, and let's not give anybody on I-24 any ideas.
That's next. That's coming.
All right, that's the only time I'm going to say that because that's the way it was described to us by a loyal super texter who sent in photographic evidence of the BAB in Pegram.
So that's what's backing up Charlotte Pike. Then
it's got to be because this is the area. What is that? 70?
70.
I guess 70. Where the river's right on the side of the road,
right alongside the Harpeth River.
Yeah. And so I've got visual evidence of a BAB in Pegram.
You got a picture of it?
Oh yeah. I can't get quite close enough to see it, but there's like 1, 2, 3. There's a few cop cars there, and yeah, it's right there in the roadway.
It qualifies as a BAB?
It's a BAB.
That's BAB.
Wow.
It is taking up almost the entire lane.
Wow.
One lane of traffic. So
yeah, that's a BAB.
That's a BAB. So BAB and Pegram, y'all be on the lookout for that, and just be aware if you're trying to get to that neck of the woods and you're doing it on Charlotte Pike, you're probably not going to get anywhere soon because they're going to have to get a BAT, which is a big ass truck.
Yes.
To get the BAB.
Yeah.
Out of the ROAD.
Yeah, what do you think they do? You think they just load the whole boulder up, or do they break it up in little pieces?
See, Ken, I was thinking about this. They've got a guardrail over there on the riverside.
Just throw it over.
Because if there was no guardrail, you just push that thing on down into the river and you're done with it, which is where it would have gone had there been no guardrail.
What if it plugs up the river?
Well, then
it's probably not that big, though. Huh?
Well, I mean, it's a BAB, but I don't know that I don't know if it's a river-sized BAB.
Yeah.
That's and that's a pretty big boulder. You can see it right there on the super text line if you want to take a gander at it. But we're watching that situation for you. It's no I-24, Ken.
And again, we don't need any ideas on I-24.
See, they don't do a lot of God-made objects in the road on I-20. It's a lot of man-made junk on I-24.
Dude, I have gotten where if I get behind somebody with a ladder on their truck,
you get out of the
I'm
way.
almost cutting people off just to get in the other lane.
That's awesome.
Because all I can picture is that thing flying off of it.
I thought of you the other night. We were heading out to the Wilson soiree, and I saw a toilet on the side of the road. And I thought about picking it up, putting it in the back of the truck, and then taking it to I-24 just so Ken Weaver could get a gander at it.
Dropping it off over there at Waldron Road and Smyrna.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Hey, Ken. Put a big sign on it.
So BAB and Pegram, so be on the lookout for that, and we'll keep you updated on all those traffic issues as they pop up this afternoon. Glad to have you with us, whether it's 5 minutes or the full 4 hours. Thank you for being here. And once again, Brian's in tomorrow. I'm doing my final midday show from noon until 3 tomorrow, and then starting on the 26th when I get back from vacay, I am permanently in this slot, 3 to 7. No, it will not be the drive. That is Brian's drive, and Brian will park on the 24th. I don't know. We're taking listener suggestions, what we're going to call the show.
That's bold.
And I think the leader in the clubhouse right now is the Matt Murphy show. That's the one.
That's original.
That's the one I'm sticking with so far. But we're taking
suggestions have been that good, have they?
Oh yeah. Wait, no, someone last week while you were gone, Ken remembers this.
Yeah.
Someone recommended the Blast, which I thought was pretty good.
The Blast.
Someone also said, well, if Brian Wilson was the drive, then you should be the Cliff. I was like, wow. I don't think that's
big fan of yours, I guess.
I don't think they meant that as a compliment. I mean, it It's fun while you're going down.
I don't know why, but I picture Toots as the driving cat from Saturday Night Live. You know, just
Steve Martin's in the passenger seat, and there's Toots's. Victoria Jackson's in the middle of the car. So we'll take your suggestions on the super text line 615-737-9986. All right. So obviously the serious news of the day, the breaking news this afternoon. There was a tragedy in Madison, Wisconsin. Anytime you hear of a shooting, particularly at a school, it is going to be leading the news, and it did lead our time when we got on the air at 3 o'clock. Let me update those of you just getting in your car, and then we'll move on to a few other things. Madison police are saying this afternoon that 3 individuals have lost their lives, including the shooter. 3 are deceased as the result of a shooting at an Abundant Life school, a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin. At least 6 other people have been injured. 2 students of those 6 are in critical condition. Earlier in the day, police announced at about 10:57 local time, that is 9:57 Central Time, that a call came out about a shooter within the school, and it is believed a teacher, a teenager, and the assailant are the 3 that have lost their lives. No real details. Police declined to release any particular details about the victims as of an hour ago. I've not checked since then. But obviously we're closely monitoring that situation, as is all of America, to find out what perhaps the motivations might have been. Look, I say it every time there's a shooting like this. I said it in the aftermath of the Covenant School, and I'll say it every time, Uvalde, whatever we might be speaking of. It is natural that we try to make sense of this, but understand when you try to make sense of someone killing a young person or killing anyone in cold blood for that matter, we are trying to make sense of the senseless. It is definable as senseless and madness and evil that someone would take the life of another person without provocation or any sort of reason behind it. Sometimes the motivations are a little more obvious and understandable. A heated dissolving marriage that breaks out into violence, or an altercation between 2 individuals that there's drugs or whatnot involved. I mean, sometimes we can put pieces together to better understand, but if someone walks into a school and shoots and kills, you are literally making sense or trying to make sense of the senseless. And I understand why we do it, but I also understand that the possibility of us putting it together in a way that we understand, we truly can't, because we do not have evil or madness in us. But what we can do is try to do everything in our power to deter, to defend, to evade when possible, and within the boundaries of our belief in a liberty-loving society, secure ourselves, our families, and our communities as best we possibly can. You may be right. 3145 said Madison, Wisconsin's at the same is in Central Time. I don't know. My apologies if that's the case. The report that I saw was that officers were dispatched to the school at 10:57 a.m. Eastern Time, and I assumed that meant that. That meant Madison was on Eastern Time. If they're not, I apologize. But it was 10:57 Eastern Time when the first reports came in.
They are in Central Time, by the way.
Oh, okay, they are. So that would have been 9:57 our time. I suppose that this article was just written on the East Coast, and that's why they transposed the times, I guess. 615-737-9986 is our telephone number if you want to comment on that. Donald Trump is thinking about, well, a lot of things in his second term. I watched his press conference earlier today and enjoyed much of it, and I'm going to share some of it with you, those of you who are perhaps at work and unable to enjoy the deliciousness that it is, Donald Trump interacting with the press. The press seems to be, I mean, maybe they'll change their ways, but it seemed to me that while the nature of some of the questions were very pointed and designed to create narratives or headlines, Donald Trump was having none of it. But they did not seem to be nearly as aggressive as they have been in the past. You know, it's funny. just a mere, what is today? December 16th. So it's like less than 2 months ago, this dude was Hitler. If you want to know one of the reasons why he dispatched of Kamala Harris, so I mean, one, he is an absolute one-off in terms of his ability to cut through the media narratives and get to the point. He is a one-off when it comes to understanding the American people. For a guy that grew up in a well-to-do family in New York City, he connects with middle America better than any politician in our lifetime, as evidenced by his victory on November 5th. So Trump's a one-off. Harris was a one-off as an awful, bad, just horrible, horrific candidate, and she was only selected because Joe Biden could not find his butt with a compass and a flashlight, was literally losing his mind on a stage in June, and so they knew they had to do something. All of that to say, when the history books are written about this presidential election, I don't know if this will be a chapter or not, but it should be. The manner in which the mainstream media and the liberal Democrats attempted to convince the American people that Donald Trump was Hitler, that he was literally Hitler, that he was as bad as Mussolini, as bad as Stalin, as bad as Hitler. There will never be another election again. Never be another election again if Donald Trump is elected president of the United States. That this guy is as bad as they come. Worse than the worst in the history of the world. And for most of us, for those of us who have brains, and I'm not talking about conservatives or libertarians or Republicans, I'm talking about all of us. For most of us, we kind of scratched our heads and said, what are you people talking about? What do you mean worse than Hitler? What do you mean never another election again? I mean, and the rhetoric started when it became obvious that he would be the nominee, and it subsided when somebody tried to blow his head off. And then they cranked it a month later. They were cranking back up again, and Hitler and awful and evil and horrible and vicious and violent killer and all this stuff. When the history books are written, maybe this is a chapter, maybe it's not. It should be. The American people are smarter than you. And even those that were a little concerned about his policies or a little concerned about his manner, they went, what are y'all talking about? So these same reporters that gleefully regurgitated and promoted the narrative, worse than Hitler, worse than this, awful, authoritarian. I'm looking at this press conference today. Mr. President-elect, can I ask you? Mr. Trump, can I ask you? I mean, they're downright nice. And all of these world leaders that we were told would turn their back on the America that we know and love, they're calling him up, congratulating him. Emmanuel Macron, oui, oui. He's sidling up to him at Notre Dame. They invited Trump. Joe Biden didn't show up at the Notre Dame Cathedral ceremony, and they invited Trump. Jill showed up, and she was looking at him all googly-eyed. Did y'all see that photo? Look up if y'all have not seen this photo, there's a great meme that's running around because Trump's selling a perfume, and they're like, Jill. Look up Jill Biden looking lovingly at Trump. I bet you'll find it. And she's like over there looking at him. Ooh, you smell good.
Giving him the googly eyes, is she?
Oh, yes. I think Jill Biden voted for Donald Trump because I think she was that mad at the Democrats for pushing her husband aside. I believe it with all my heart and all my soul. There is no reason you wear a red pantsuit on Election Day unless you're trying to send a message to somebody. Did you find it, Weber?
Yeah, she's liking what he's putting down there.
I mean, she's giving him the sweet face. I mean, I don't know what they're talking about, but she's enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, she's finally getting to have a conversation with someone that speaks in complete sense.
That's right. I miss the days when I could talk to another man my age and he actually made sense and didn't make poopy. Oh. Anyway, all of these folks that told you this guy's Hitler, it's just a normal day in America, which is part and parcel as to why they lost, because the American people are smarter than that. It's 23 after the hour. We're going to get into this press conference. You'll enjoy it, I promise. 23 after on Super Talk. All right, if you've got a Christmas gift person on your list and you're not sure what they want and you're not sure what to get them, what about a pretty special opportunity? And I'm going to tell you about it. It's Tennessee Flight Training. If you have anyone in your family that has thought about learning how to fly, how about an introductory flight experience from Tennessee Flight Training? Whether it's a special someone that has dreamed of becoming a professional pilot, or if they're looking to fulfill a bucket list, Tennessee Flight Training will fulfill their aviation dreams. Friends, I've been up in one of these aircraft, absolutely adored it. Went around the city of Nashville from B&A Airport. You can fly out of B&A, you can fly out of Murray County Regional or Shelbyville Municipal. Step inside of the aircraft and learn to fly. I flew an airplane on my first day. They let me take the wheel, and I was incredibly nervous for the minute or so that I'd had control of that aircraft, and then I gave it back to my pilot. One way or the other, you can get this done. Make it a Christmas that is very memorable and special. Help yourself or your loved one jumpstart a new career in an on-demand, high-paying profession as well. So you can save $50 when you purchase an introductory flight experience before December 24th. That's important to know. You're never too old, never too young to learn to fly. Find out more by going to tnflighttraining.com. That's tnflighttraining.com, or call 800-669-0250 today. Tennessee Flight Training. The skies are calling. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Christian school shooting in Wisconsin. Trump defends RFK Jr. as rational. A hit-and-run driver in Nashville left an elderly woman to die, and she did. And just 9 days before Christmas, Amazon facing a possible strike. All of these stories and more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Looking forward to that, Mr. Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The suggestions are coming in fast and furious for what we call the new show on the members. Golly, you know what? You should buzz me or something every time. I mean, no offense to Members Nutrition, but they don't sponsor the Super Text line anymore, and I keep saying it. I don't know why. I mean, I like the company and all, but, you know, you got to pay the dollars to get the sponsorship. Right. Yeah. So it's just the super. If you want to sponsor the Super Text line, so I'll stop saying that, give us a call, 615-737-9986. We'll figure something out. Anyway, the Super Text line is up and running. Our phone lines are up and running as well. And name for your show, Matt Murphy's Road Trip. Roadkill with Matt Murphy. That's better.
That Roadkill was already taken, though. That
was Roadkill been a...
Well, it was a television series.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good one, too.
Yeah. 24 on 24 Murphy Show. I don't know that we like that. On Target. Well, we'll go over some of these. The Brown Water Review. Can we just name the 6 o'clock hour the Brown Water Review? and you know, the rest of it? The crazy drive. Well, I appreciate all of you participating. That's pretty fun. All right, Donald Trump met with the media today. Before we get to him, because that's going to be a little bit more long form, I asked a question. I wrote this down. It's point number 4. Where is Joe Biden? I mean, we got drones over major parts of the United States of America, and they won't tell us what's going on there. Donald Trump said something about that today. I'll play that for you in a couple of minutes. We've got unrest in the Middle East, obviously. We got the Ukrainian. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and Joe Biden has just checked out. But Joe Biden did make an appearance over the weekend at a holiday reception. They don't call it a Christmas reception because Democrats can't say Christmas. The DNC had a holiday reception at the Willard Intercontinental Hotel in Washington, D.C., and Joe Biden said this.
We've run a campaign that's basically scandal-free. It's hard to do in American politics these days.
Don't make me laugh, kid. Joe Biden said. So, if you don't cover... Now, I just want to hear it one more time. Hold on. This is what he said.
We've run a campaign that's basically scandal-free. It's hard to do in American politics these days.
It's not hard to do if no one in the mainstream media will cover any of the scandals.
Well, and, he did say basically.
Basically. I mean, if you forget the fact that Hunter Biden was a criminal, if you forget the fact that Hunter Biden's laptop existed, if you forget the fact that they had all of these dealings with the Ukrainians and the Chinese, if you forget his influence peddling that his family's been involved with since he was vice president, if you forget hiding classified documents in plain sight and the media not covering it, and then, of course, the biggest, if you forget the fact that no one in the mainstream media would report, everyone refused to report his obvious significant mental decline, well, then I guess you're right. I guess you're right, Joe. If the media doesn't say it, it doesn't happen, right? Well, I'll say this. Joe Biden will miss you on this show. I'm going to miss him, for one. I mean, America's going to be a much better place, but I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss talking to you, but I've got to give it over to Ken Weaver, 31 after the hour on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And the ATF and FBI on the scene of a shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin. A teenager and a teenage student at the private school killed. 6 others injured. The shooter, a teen student at the school, also dead. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes says the shooter's family is cooperating with police, and they will speak with students about the shooting.
We're not going to interrogate students. We're going to give them an opportunity to come in and speak to what they may have saw when they feel ready.
He did not mention a motive or whether the shooter is a boy or a girl. President-elect Trump took questions from reporters at his Mar-a-Lago club today. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
President-elect Trump defends his choice to lead the federal health agencies, saying Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is much less radical than his critics may think.
I found him to be very rational. No, nothing. You're not going to lose the the polio vaccine. That's not going to happen.
But when asked at a Mar-a-Lago news conference if he supports schools continuing to require vaccines, Trump said he doesn't like mandates, and he pointed to increasing autism rates in the U.S.
There's something wrong, and we're going to find out about it.
The medical community insists there is no link between vaccines and autism.
Here in Nashville, Metro Police looking for a hit-and-run driver. South Precinct Officer Sunday responded to Wingate Avenue near Sunrise Avenue around 2:30 after a nearby resident found an elderly woman, tentatively identified as an 83-year-old Nashvilleian, lying in the roadway. She was transported to Vanderbilt University Medical Center where she was pronounced dead. And just 9 days before Christmas and Hanukkah, Amazon facing a possible strike at 2 New York warehouses. More from Elizabeth Schulze.
Amazon operates hundreds of warehouses across the U.S., so even if a strike at 2 of these facilities starts in the coming days, it could have a limited impact nationwide on the shipment of holiday gifts, especially if they're already out on the truck for delivery. So bottom line, Amazon packages should still arrive on time, but for all of the last-minute shoppers out there, still want to keep an eye on your tracking information.
That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Charlotte Pike westbound is shut down because of a big boulder right there in those lanes. This is going to be Charlotte Pike westbound in Pegram. That's between Newsom Station Road and McCrory Lane. Then we got a crash in Jordonia, Briley Parkway westbound right before Ashland City Highway, exit 24. 40 eastbound at Jefferson Street. 40 westbound at Charlotte Pike. 65 southbound after Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. You got the left 2 lanes blocked there at exit 95. And then how can we leave out I-24? Eastbound in Jolton. A crash right there at Whites Creek Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. It is 39 after the hour, The Drive, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Hope your evening or afternoon's going good so far. I have a hard time calling it afternoon when it's getting dark outside. Hey, Trump's going to solve all that, too. That's another thing he's going to eliminate. He's phasing out daylight saving time. Although I'm a little concerned about how they say it.
Yeah, the wording needs some work.
Because they keep saying that we're going to eliminate daylight saving time, which would mean that we're going back to this time all year.
Yeah.
And do we, gentlemen, do we want that? I don't think we want that.
Not particularly.
I don't think we want that.
Why don't they just stop the sun from going down?
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
Just do that.
That'd be good. You know, it's a common myth that the farmers really, really wanted all of this movement to change the time, and the farmers pushed back on it. The farmers said, my cows don't know what time it is, man. They want to be milked when they want to be milked. They don't know what the clock says on the wall, nor do the chickens. Apparently, we made the move to permanently shift to daylight saving in 1974. I did a little research this weekend because we did it during World War I briefly, and then we left it. And then we did it in World War II, called it wartime, and we left it. And then it was somewhere in the 60s that we did the switch. And after doing the switch off for about 5 or 6 years, everybody was sick of it. And in 1974, during the Nixon administration, they did a little experiment where they kept it on daylight saving time for the whole year. And guess who didn't like it? Mamas whose kids had to stand at the bus in the dark. And mamas' voices resonate loudly and clearly. And so they went back to the switch, and we've been on the switch ever since. But I think we can figure that out. If that's all we're working with, then I think we can figure it out. Anyway, Donald says he's eliminating daylight saving time, so we don't have. It would be 5:41 right now instead of 4:41. But I hope everybody's having a great day. One more quick thing I want to say before I get to this press conference. I know I've been working on it for a while now. One more quick thing I want to say about this tragedy in Madison, Wisconsin. Expect that the typical usual suspects, the David Hoggs of the world, we made mention of him. David Hogg, was a student at Parkland High School, or Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkman, and went through that situation. I think 17 young people died in that tragedy. I mean, obviously, we want to do everything we can do while protecting our liberties to protect our young people. There's no question about that. But expect the gun grabbers to come out of the woodwork and use this as an example of why they deserve to grab your guns, why we need more laws on the books. They will tell you, we need to pass common sense gun reform, they say. Okay? Well, police are currently saying, and I just want to reset it, that in Madison, Wisconsin, the killer at the Abundant Life School was a teenager and used a handgun. So the gun grabbers are about to come out of the woodwork once again and tell you that it's time to have common sense gun reform. We need to pass common sense gun laws. Okay? Tell me what law would have altered this situation today. Tell me what law we need to pass that would have prevented this situation today. Because the last I checked, juveniles are not legally allowed to buy guns. The last I checked, juveniles are not legally allowed to carry handguns, to possess handguns. That's number 2. The last I checked, it is against the law to kill someone. That's number 3. The last I checked, it is against the law to possess a gun, no matter your age, on school property. That is number 4. There were already at least 4 laws violated in the commission of this crime. And if merely passing a law would have changed any of this, why did those laws not change the outcome of any of this? Right? Sadly, what most of the gun grabbers in American society truly want from us, they want us to give up any and all of our gun rights. Any and all of our gun rights. And the American people simply are not going to do that. Nor should we. We can take corrective measure and not give up our further rights. Sharon is in Fayetteville, and Sharon joins us next. Hello, Sharon. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you, honey?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for calling in.
Good. I got a question. I need some answers. I want to know who is purchasing Trump's border steel, 5 cents on a dollar. What they're going to do with it. Are they going to melt it down and make a whole bunch of money on the resale of something? Also, did they sell it to someone in the administration that is going to profit stock-wise or whatever off of the sale of this steel?
So what Sharon's referring to, let me catch everyone up that maybe has not heard the story, Sharon, that there is an auction by the Department of Homeland Security auctioning off the border construction material that Donald Trump used taxpayer dollars to buy and pay for to construct the border wall that was, by the way, very effective in the places where it was put down. Joe Biden's now hauling off the border wall that's been lying there for years, wants to auction it off at a government auction website. So Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said that he recommended that we buy the border construction material. By we, he meant the state of Texas, and give it to President-elect Donald Trump. Joe Biden's now hauling off the border wall that's been lying for years. He wants to auction it off by starting $5 a piece. Message to the White House right now, I will bid on all of that, and we will buy it, and we will give it back to Donald Trump. Patrick also said that as as Lieutenant Governor, that he has the authority to spend tax dollars that way. So I don't know if he has done any of that, but I think it's a great idea, Sharon.
I agree. I hadn't heard that about Texas wanting to buy the steel, because in the back of my mind, I thought someone should. Someone that would be all in for saving the citizens' money, putting it to good use under Trump's initiative. I just, that's all. I just need to know who's going to buy it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a mechanism by which we can stop this sale, and I'll look a little further into it, Sharon. Great call. The sale of this material is shameful. The fact that the Biden administration hates Trump so much, the Biden administration hates the concept of border security so much, of reasonable and rational immigration policy so much. They are so desirous to bring in whomever wants to come for the purpose of, I assume, still getting votes, so much that they're willing to put the American people at risk. That they would sell off these materials knowing that Donald Trump would use them, that's the purpose, right? They know that these materials are about to get used again. They refuse to do it. It is shameful, and it demonstrates to you truly the attitude that they have about the American people. They don't care about the American people dying at the hands of illegal aliens. They don't care about the American people being put more at risk. They don't care about the fentanyl crisis that we have that are killing tens of thousands of Americans on an annual basis. They don't care about the strain that this is putting on our system. They don't care about our school systems that are overrun and unable to educate some of these folks that are, English is their second language and this type of thing. They don't care about any of that. They care about votes and power. And they thought opening up the border in this manner would secure them more votes and power. What happened, there was a boomerang effect, and the brown-skinned people that are already here, this is just, I'm laying it down where the goats can graze on it. The brown-skinned people that are already here, whether legally or not, they recognize that this was a problem. And those that are here legally, they voted in numbers unseen in the Republican Party in a long, long time, despite the fact that the Democrats vilified Donald Trump as a xenophobe and a racist and anti-immigrant. 49 minutes after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. More calls coming up, plus those promised clips from the press conference. I'll get to them on Super Talk and The Drive. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Madison, Wisconsin Christian school shooting. Trump on drones, vaccines, and TikTok. And Metro Police trying to identify the driver killed in a fiery crash. These stories and more at 5 on Super Talk and 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weaver. It's 55 minutes, 54 and a half or thereabouts after the hour. Thank you for being with us on the drive. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, Donald Trump appeared before the assembled media at Mar-a-Lago and had a few things to say and was very direct to the mainstream and assembled press and seemed to be so much at ease. And it's amazing to me how the same media outlets that treated him like or called him, directly referred to him as Hitler-like or Adolf Hitler, they are now handling him with, to a certain degree, with kid gloves. Donald Trump asked at Mar-a-Lago about his deportation plans and what he plans to do with
in terms of your mass deportation plans, have you had any preliminary discussions with countries like Venezuela, from where the Tren de Aragua gang is now popping up?
They'll take him back.
They're going to take him back.
They're all taking him back, yep. And if they don't, they'll be met very harshly economically. Okay, they'll all take them back. You know, Venezuela and other countries were not behaving very well with us during my administration, and within 24 hours they were behaving very well.
So it's amazing how Donald Trump, in responding to the mainstream media, puts them in a position to expose themselves. The nature of the presumption behind the question. The presumption behind the question asked, in terms of your mass deportation plans, have you had any preliminary discussions with Venezuela? The presumption is you're never going to get Venezuela to take these people back. And Donald Trump just cut right to it and said they'll take them back. If they don't take them back, then they're not getting any more of our money. How about that? They'll take them back. So you're putting the media in a position to go, no, they won't. Well, don't you want them to go back? Don't you want these gang members to be out of the United States of America? Don't you want these gang members to stop killing people? Don't you want these gang members to stop robbing people, breaking our laws, sucking from our system, or not? You truly demonstrate yourself as the enemy of the people that Donald Trump used to call you when you position yourself like that. Sean is in Gallatin. Hello, Sean. Welcome in. How are you?
How's it going, brother?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Hey, man, I just want to hit on both subjects, one of defense and then the other of the shooting. So with the people that don't want the border, have you driven through East Nashville lately? For all the people that don't want it, they're all putting up fences around their house. Okay? Then the second thing is, if the government would get out of the raising of the children, we may have less issues with school shootings.
Wait, say that last part. I didn't catch all the last part. Say the last one again on the school shootings.
If the government would get out of the way that children are raised, we would probably have less school shootings.
How so? I'm just curious what your thought process is there.
So my thought process is that if you have a broken home where one parent may or may not spank, the other parent doesn't agree with that, they make a phone call that their child was spanked and disciplined, well, said parent has a big opportunity to go to jail for that, right? So we've become soft on our children because everybody's afraid to spank their children.
Holy moly. So I didn't realize this. You're teaching me something, and there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. But so if you have a divorced parent situation and one of the parents uses corporal punishment, the other parent can put them in jail?
Absolutely.
In Tennessee?
DHS yes, DHS can come.
Holy moly.
After if you hit your child, they will come to your house. They will 100% try to arrest you first.
I had no idea.
Secondly, they're going to get DHS involved right out of the gate, right? DHS is always going to want the child to go back to that parent, but that's typically like a 3-month process. But 100%, if you have one parent that punishes in the way of a spanking and the other parent doesn't, they will call and say that there is, some sort of violence or whatever going on at that household, and that child says, yes, my dad hit me, 100%.
Holy moly. Well, Sean, let me unpack some more of that because I thought you were going down the public education road, and I would suggest to you that we need to start questioning whether the government's very good at publicly educating our children and if there's a different or better way. Just a thought, because they certainly have eliminated corporal punishment or really any authority or discipline from that system, sadly. I'm not saying there aren't good people in it. Well, we've got 2 more hours to go. It is The Drive, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stand by.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Madison, Wisconsin, 3 people are dead. A teacher, teenaged student, and the teenaged shooter who was a student there at Abundant Life Christian School. That shooting happening this morning. 6 people are hurt in the hospital, some of them critically. Police Chief Sean Barnes says the call came in right before 11 o'clock local time. Officers didn't hesitate to enter the school.
The shooter was dead upon our arrival, police department arrival, and no officers fired their weapons.
The police chief says they do not know the motive, but the shooter's parents are cooperating. The ATF and FBI also on the scene there in Madison. President-elect Trump took several questions from reporters today at Mar-a-Lago. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The president-elect said he believes the government knows more than it's saying about drones.
Our military knows and our president knows.
Trump alleged they want to, quote, keep people in suspense. He vowed if RFK Jr. is confirmed as his health secretary, Americans won't lose access to the polio vaccine.
It's not going to happen.
Trump said he has a soft spot for Chinese-owned TikTok, but he didn't repeat his vow to save the app ahead of next month's deadline for a sale. When asked if he'd pardon New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's been indicted on bribery charges.
Yeah, I would certainly look at it.
TikTok, by the way, asked the U.S. Supreme Court to step in on an emergency basis today to block that federal law that would ban the popular platform unless its China-based parent company agreed to sell it. The deadline is January 19th. Here in Nashville, Metro Police are working to figure out the identity of a driver killed in a fiery crash last night. They say a Chevy Silverado pickup at a high rate of speed eastbound on Lebanon Pike wiped out on a curve and then hit a utility pole in a tree and burst into flames. Another driver saw the crash, called 911. The fire department responded, put out the flames, but there was nothing they could do for the driver. And the Department of Transportation's unveiled sweeping new rules to protect passengers with disabilities. Here's Dave Packer.
Starting in 2025, airlines will be required to provide safe, dignified assistance and ensure wheelchairs are returned undamaged and promptly within 24 hours for domestic flights and 30 hours for long international trips. Annual hands-on training for staff handling wheelchairs is mandatory with competency assessments by 2026.
Yeah, the changes effective in January 2025 follow a $50 million penalty against American Airlines for prior violations. New numbers in the seemingly endless search for the magic number of steps to take in a day. Here's Brian Clark.
There is no magic number of steps a person should take in a day, but a new study of nearly 100,000 people found that those who took at least 5,000 steps per day experienced fewer depressive symptoms than those who did not. There was also a 42% drop in prevalence of depression for people who took at least 7,500 steps per day. More research is still needed to determine any other factors that might have influenced the findings.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Highway 70 westbound still shut down in Pegram due to that boulder that fell down onto the roadway. That's going to be right between Newsom Station Road and McCrory Lane. Jordonia, we've got a crash. Briley Parkway westbound before Ashland City Highway. That's exit 24. Then on the East Bank, we've got a crash. Left shoulder block, 24 eastbound, right before James Robertson Parkway. In Hillwood, 40 westbound after Charlotte Pike, exit 201, the right shoulder blocked. Then in Williamson County, we've got 840 eastbound at 65. There is a crash reported there. 24 eastbound at 440, exit 53. 24 eastbound at Whites Creek Pike. Got a crash there in Jolton. 2 separate accidents right there in that location around exit 35. 65 northbound at Trinity Lane. 65 southbound after Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. And now 40 westbound right after 840. That's exit 176 in Dixon. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is The Drive, 8 minutes past 5 o'clock. Hope everyone's doing well this Monday, December 16th. Hope everyone's day's gone well so far. We'll try to catch you up on everything you need to know if you're just getting in your automobile. Maybe you're still in your place of business, at home, wherever you are. Thank you for listening to a moment or two of The Drive. We appreciate you so much. My name is Matt Murphy. I'm in for Brian Wilson. Brian back tomorrow as The Drive slowly but surely cruises to what Brian has called its final destination on December 24th. For those of you out of pocket, out of country, whatnot, let me catch you up in that regard, and then we'll get you up to date with the news of the day. So Brian is here from tomorrow until the 24th, Christmas Eve, and then he is off to retirement. He's still going to be a part of the radio station. Obviously, we're still going to invite him in anytime he wants to come for whatever reason, breaking news or fill-in work or other duties, and he's got a lot that he's got ideas for in his quote-unquote retirement. He, of course, is going to be the Peacock of Watertown, which is the name that Chris Webber coined for him.
Yeah, I should probably copyright that.
PCOC, which would be the president of the Chamber of Commerce, a.k.a. the Peacock.
That's right.
Of Watertown, Tennessee. He announced that after announcing his retirement that he was doing that. He absolutely loves Watertown and truly is the honorary mayor of Watertown. Certainly lives in the biggest house in the city. So anyway, bottom line is Brian's done on the 24th, and I'll be on from 3 until 7. We will not call it The Drive. We're taking suggestions for names. Starting officially on January 2nd is when the show starts, but I'll be here starting on the 26th, the day after Christmas Day. Hope everyone's doing well, getting your holiday shopping done. Everything's going well for everyone. If you're out Charlotte Pike on Highway 70 trying to get to Pegram, it's not going well for you because there's a big boulder in the road. We'll give you an update or two on that during the 5 o'clock hour, I am certain. But otherwise, hope everything is safe and sound. Now, brand new reporting on this situation in Madison, Wisconsin. There is reportedly going to be a new press conference or an update on the Wisconsin school shooting at some point this hour. When that occurs, we're going to jip it, join in progress ASAP upon getting that information. So we'll keep you up to date in that regard. Secondarily, we now know, according to Madison, Wisconsin police and police chief Sean Barnes, that 2 were killed, a teacher and a teenage student, and 6 were injured in addition to the shooter. So 3 total dead with the shooter included and 6 others injured. It is now being reported, and this is two separate news agencies reporting this information. Once again, as we talked about in the 3 o'clock and the 4 o'clock hour, a lot of fluid information. So take this for what it's worth, but it is corroborated by two separate sources that the Wisconsin school shooter was a 17-year-old female, and that the 17-year-old female used a 9mm pistol in the assault. So those are the two news reports. Ken, is that what you're seeing out of the newsroom over there?
That is exactly what is being reported.
Okay, so 17-year-old female student and used a 9mm pistol in the assault. Teacher and student killed, and the school shooter also dead. So that's the new information. Once the press conference starts, once they provide us some new information, we're going to move that forward and make that a part of the discussion on the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, Donald Trump had a press conference earlier today, and a lot of questions asked of him. Say what you will about Donald Trump's style, but you watch this. I don't care if you're a Trump hater or not. You watch this and you tell me that it's not refreshing. That it's not refreshing to see a president-elect of the United States of America stand before the American people and the assembled press and take question after question after question. It's not scripted. I mean, this is old school. Even Obama had his note card with his people that he would call on. Now, some would suggest Obama had the questions too. There's no doubt that Joe Biden had. We have photographic evidence that Joe Biden had the questions in advance. He had not only the name of the person that he was calling on, he had the way that you pronounce their name, the phonetic spelling right below the name so he didn't screw it up. He had a photograph of the reporter so that he didn't have to remember what they looked like. And then he had the subject matter of the question. At very least, some would tell you he had the questions themselves, which is embarrassing. That's not a press conference of any kind that I'm familiar with. I mean, that's an open book test. Remember those old open book tests when you're in high school, middle school? Oh, we've got a test. Oh, no, open book. Oh, well, we just look up the answers in the book? Okay. Sure. That was a Joe Biden press conference. You tell me that it's not refreshing that Donald Trump was able to answer any and all questions without having to refer to notes and without having to worry about, he just, you, and they would shout him out. You shout louder, you get the question. You. Donald Trump earlier today asked a question about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Two quick questions. First, on vaccines, do you want RFK Jr. to revoke any vaccines?
No, I want him to come back with a report as to what he thinks. We're going to find out a lot. We're doing two things. We're going to have tremendous cost savings will come out of this. That's a minimum. And we're also going to have, and I think, very serious discussions about certain things, whether it's pesticides. Europe doesn't use pesticides, and yet they have a better mortality rate than we do. They don't use pesticides. In fact, they use it as an excuse not to take our farm product. We spend billions and billions of dollars on pesticides, and something bad's happening. Again, you take a look at autism today versus 20, 25 years ago, it's like not even believable. So we're going to have reports. No, nothing's going to happen very quickly. I think you're going to find that Bobby he's a very rational guy. I found him to be very rational. No, nothing, you're not going to lose the polio vaccine. That's not going to happen. I saw what happened with the polio. I have friends that were very much affected by that. I have friends from many years ago, and they have obviously they're still in not such good shape because of it. And many people died. And the moment they took that vaccine, it ended. Dr. Jonas Salk did a great job, so I don't anticipate that at all.
It's nice. Donald Trump giving his seal of approval on Dr. Jonas Salk, which was nice toward the end of that. I love Trump because Trump answers are great. The going off the radar, it reminds me, maybe I'm predisposed to liking this because it's the way that I talk. I'm a tree talker. Donald Trump is a tree talker. So if you ask him a question, he starts with the main trunk of conversation, and then he goes off on this branch and this tangent, maybe another branch and another tangent, and he eventually gets back to the main topic of conversation. But he might go off on another branch. You never know. Donald Trump was answering a couple of questions embedded in that one. Are you going to revoke? No. But we are going to look at all of these things and figure out whether there should be a rescission of the mandate. He did say that. He was asked, and I've got that clip for you as well. When asked about whether or not mandates are necessary in our school systems, he had a very strong answer for that. Donald Trump was also asked about America and what he believes he can accomplish in the beginnings of his first term. He answered that this way.
But this will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. And we hope we don't have any intervening problems, because things happen. Like out of nowhere came the China virus. Out of nowhere came other things we don't want to have. You know, when I left, we had no wars. We had no problems. The Middle East was good. We did the Abraham Accords. We did things that nobody thought were even possible.
So he brings up the obvious, that everything was going well until, and he called it the China virus, which I don't blame him. Until Donald Trump came on the scene, until this Wuhan Chinese virus erupted all over the world, you identified these viruses by the regions from whence they came. And so initially this was called the Wuhan virus. It was eventually called the China virus. And then all of that changed because Donald Trump called it that, identifying the responsible parties for this and perhaps getting a little too close to the truth. Because at the time, lying Anthony Fauci and others were attempting to convince us that it was a bat meat problem, which I think led to the death of millions of people in America. And I've long stated my opinion on this. Anthony Fauci, his refusal to be honest with the American people about the origins of the COVID-19 China virus, I believe led to people taking it less seriously in the United States of America in the initial stages. And because we took it a little less seriously and because we were unable to quickly facilitate exactly what we needed to do with our elderly and our young people and the immunocompromised, I believe that led to the death of millions of people. Because I don't eat bat meat. If it's a bat meat issue, I'm all good. Thanks. For the first 3 months, the American people felt that way. Precious time. Precious time. More coming up with Donald Trump in just a moment as he held a full-fledged press conference, taking questions from any and all comers in Mar-a-Lago earlier today. Mike's in Lebanon. He's been holding for some time. Hey, Mike. Glad you called.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Thank you.
I'll have a number 2, Mike, with a Diet Coke. Yeah, y'all don't want anything? Mike, so.
Yeah, I'm good.
You good?
I want bacon and cheese, and I want the cheese smothering the bacon.
You'll get nothing like it.
You hear that, Mike?
Yeah, hello?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? We were just, we thought you were ordering food there for us.
Yeah, I'm at a drive-through window. I was ordering food.
Oh, you were? I had it right. I thought so. Well, Ken Weaver wants bacon and cheese on his, okay?
No, this idiot here don't look like I'm going to have to go to another restaurant. They saying that they ain't got what I want. So
oh, no.
Look like I might have to go to another Burger King.
Not that I'm putting too fine a point on it.
So you like Burger King, don't you?
I do. You must have seen my tweet.
No, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it. I just happened to be at Burger King.
I don't mind. Look, I love a Whopper. You know what I used to order at a Burger King? Those chicken sandwiches, no lettuce, extra cheese. Oh, used to love those things. Anyway, you got time for us, Mike?
Before I get to what I want to say, with Joe Biden's inflation now, it's a shame. You got to go to the ATM machine before you go to a fast food restaurant. It used to be, back in the old days, you used to be able to go to a Burger King and McDonald's with $5 or $6 and get full. Now you need to have at least $20 to get a meal at Burger King.
It's the truth, man. You're speaking the truth.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much money this fast food costs. But yeah, I want to make a comment on this shooting in Wisconsin. I was kind of offended by what the lead officer or the man that's in charge of the case said today when he had the nerve to say that we don't want to be having no more talks. We don't want to be talking about another school shooting. Well, let me inform this guy. We just had a school shooting in Georgia a couple of months ago by a student, and now we learned that this was a student of the school. You mean to tell me that they didn't enforce their school after what happened in Georgia? They didn't have a better security protocol to where a student couldn't take a gun into a school? Do you know how embarrassing that is? And now we're finding out it's a female to walk into a school with a 9mm or whatever kind of gun it was and gun down other students. No, there is no excuse for a student to be able to bring a gun, especially a teenager. No, I don't know what this age this individual is, but for him to come out and say that we don't want to be talking about this anymore, you had a chance not to talk about it after what happened in Georgia, and you didn't do a damn thing about it, and now it came to your school, and now you're upset about it. Now, let me make this last comment about this other thing. You know, I heard some other people saying, well, we don't have enough money to hire security guard, armed guards, armed patrols. Well, they got enough money to send over to foreign countries. They got billions of dollars to send to Ukraine. You mean to tell me that our American students are not more important than Ukraine? We have more than enough money to enforce every school in America with some type of law enforcement. There is no excuse for somebody to walk into a school anywhere in America with a firearm and gun down innocent students. And I want to hear what you have to say about that.
All right, well, I'm going to do it right after the break. Mike, enjoy your Burger King. I will comment on that. Should we be fortifying our school systems? This is a private school. It is a Christian school, and there's only so much that we can do through government to insist that they take security measures in their private facility. I'll talk about it in a moment. It's 22 after the hour. This is The Drive. Your calls, 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
All right, so we have all the new details in today's shooting at a Christian school in Wisconsin. Also, President-elect Trump says there's got to be a deal in Ukraine. This and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ken Weaver. There's Ken Weaver in News Closet B. Chris Webber back from vacay. By the way, I did not get a chance because of the nature of the breaking news to ask you. You were in Gatlinburg?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, for a time, yeah. Gatlinburg and then Townsend. Ken, I think you're familiar with Townsend.
Oh, I love Townsend.
Townsend? What is Townsend?
It's a small mountain town.
Yeah.
Down in the valley.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful.
Less commercialized than
much,
Gatlinburg?
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of a hidden gem until we start talking about it on a 100,000 watt radio station.
Possibly.
Yeah. Where'd you stay over there?
Well, we rented a cabin in Townsend. That was excellent. One of the nicest little rentals that I've ever stayed in, right off of kind of the downtown area.
That's nice.
Now in Gatlinburg, where I can tell you, it'd be more fun to tell you where we didn't stay.
Okay.
Which, in my opinion, is like a crack house. Maybe I should alleged.
What? Wait. You didn't stay in the crack house?
Well, we did not. We were supposed to, but we did not. It was one of those things where it was kind of a last-minute trip that we planned, and I just said, let's just see if we can get a cheap place to stay, just because we wanted to stay one night in Gatlinburg so we could have a day there and then spend the night, and then we're going to go over to our cabin in Townsend.
Okay.
So I got on Google Maps, and I just started looking, and, the prices pop up, at the various hotels when they're available. I said, well, this one's cheap, and it got decent reviews. It looked kind of like an old property.
Yeah.
But a lot of the reviews said that they had been newly renovated rooms.
Vintage.
Yeah, and it was, it looked like a cheap hotel, so I wasn't expecting much. Well, we get there, and this looked like straight up a place where illegal activities happen on the regular. We get there early in the day. We couldn't check in until 4, I think.
How many hours would you like for the room, sir? Is that what they?
Yeah, maybe. But we get there, and first thing, there's a dumpster in the parking lot. So that's taking up a parking space. So that's encouraging.
Okay, that's good.
No cars other than one car, which happened to be the lady that was cleaning a room there. And this is a place where there's no one on site, where you just have to call. You call them. I don't know, man.
What?
It was one, and across the street, car on blocks.
This sounds like a victim honeypot.
Yeah, it was scary. It was one of those things where it's like, I don't know that I want, much less do I want to be in the room. I don't want to leave my car parked in the parking lot unattended.
No.
So I actually went in the room and just to give it a look, and as I'm standing there, I'm thinking, I don't feel safe. This is just not good. So I just messaged the person. They were kind enough to respond, and I said, I just don't feel safe with me and my family.
You were just honest with him?
I was honest. And he was, we haven't, in the 3 years I've been here, we haven't had an incident, but I'd be glad to refund your money. He was very nice about it, I will say. But, we did not stay in this place. I'm not going to mention any names because apparently it's under renovations, and they're supposed to be done in the spring or so. It's going to be fantastic.
I feel like a phone call was made right after he refunded your money. Spider, we just lost the fish. Fish got off the hook.
Yep. I really believe that bad things would have happened to, not necessarily to us, but to car. Car would have probably been broken into, stolen, damaged in some way. I mean, it just looked...
It's a smart call.
This is not good.
Might have been spiders in there, too.
And then, like, the thing is that 200 yards down the street from where that hotel was, stayed in a lovely place that only cost, another $75 or whatever it was. Yeah. It's like, why did I bother trying to cheap out?
Yeah.
And the lesson from all of this is trust your gut, folks.
Oh yeah,
you gotta trust your gut, and if your gut's everything's telling you that you probably need to get the hell out of there, it's probably good for the Weber family that you got the HE double hockey sticks right out of there. Well, that's nice. And don't worry, everyone. Off air, I'm going to find out where the heck this place is so that I know never to go.
You got to go look at it, though.
If y'all want to do that, y'all are on your own. Super text line is open and available, 615-737-9986. Here comes Ken Weaver in the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And we've got new details in today's shooting at a K-12 Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin. Here's Alex Stone.
The shooter in Madison, Wisconsin was a teenage girl, according to multiple law enforcement sources speaking to ABC News. That would go against the typical profile of a school active shooter. In this case, police say she killed a teacher and a fellow student. She was dead when police arrived. Multiple other people on campus are injured, including 2 students who are critically hurt from the shooting. Police say the motive remains unknown.
President-elect Trump urging an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine, calling on both sides to work toward a deal to end the fighting. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The president-elect says too many people have died in Ukraine.
It's a carnage that we haven't seen since the Second World War.
At a Mar-a-Lago news conference, Trump was asked if Ukraine should be prepared to cede territory to Russia. Trump answered that Volodymyr Zelensky should be prepared to make a deal.
Got to be a deal. Too many people being killed. That is a war that's too many people. Got to make a deal.
In recent weeks, Zelensky has signaled Ukraine might agree to give up its Russian-occupied territory in exchange for NATO membership.
TikTok hoping the Supreme Court steps in with an emergency ruling to block the federal law that would ban the popular platform in the United States unless its China-based parent company agreed to sell it by January 19th. And just 9 days before Christmas and Hanukkah, Amazon facing a possible strike. Details from Elizabeth Schulze.
The Teamsters Union says that it gave Amazon a deadline of December 15th to come to the bargaining table over new contract terms for more than 5,000 workers at 2 of its warehouses in New York. The union writing in a statement, Amazon is pushing its workers closer to the picket line by failing to address concerns about low wages and dangerous working conditions. Amazon tells us for more than a year now, the Teamsters have misled the public, calling this another attempt to push a false narrative.
Now, a walkout at these facilities could have a limited impact on nationwide shipment of holiday gifts, especially if they're already out for delivery. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, East Bank downtown, 24 eastbound, right before James Robertson Parkway. Got the left shoulder blocked by a crash. Then in the Gulch, 40 eastbound at Broadway. Got a crash in West Nashville, 40 westbound, right there at exit 205. Then the right shoulder blocked by a crash, 65 northbound at Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Over here in Williamson County, 840 eastbound at I-65. There is a crash with police on the scene. And we still got that boulder blocking 40, or actually 70 westbound there between Newsom Station Road and McCrory Lane in Pegram. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. I'm so pleased to be here with you. Thank you for being here with us. Chris Weber behind the glass, and behind the other glass, there's Ken Weaver in News Closet B, gathering headlines already as we speak. It's 39 minutes after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, oh man, did y'all see, was that in Lebanon? Did y'all see the dude jump in the square in Lebanon?
Oh, yeah, he went full Dukes of Hazzard.
I mean, went all in Dukes of Hazzard on. And I hope nobody, before I talk about this, Ken, are you aware if anybody was hurt in that incident? I think there was a driver and a passenger. I
am not.
All right, so we from now until the point that I am told otherwise, I am operating on the premise that nobody was killed or seriously wounded.
That's what I read, that the driver and the passenger were not seriously injured.
Holy, I've never seen anything like it.
Wild.
They went, if you've not seen the video, I'll find it and post it up. By the way, speaking of posting videos, I have posted the photograph of Jill Biden giving the googly eyes to Donald Trump on my social media platform, at Matt Murphy Show. So if you go over there and like my my X page, you can see Jill giving the old Google eyes over at the Notre Dame Cathedral to Donald Trump. But I'll try to find this video. It is, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I guess we just didn't see it coming. I guess. But we went. I mean, he hit the little. I guess they have a roundabout in the middle of Lebanon.
Yes.
I've not been to this particular place, but you've got to circle around. Well, old boy was going at a high rate of speed and did not recognize the roundabout and went.
He cut an efficient path.
He was trying to straighten the curve.
That's what is the old dadgummit? I can't remember the lyric right before.
Straighten the curves, flattening the hills.
Flattening the
There
hills.
you go.
Someday the mountain might get us, but the law never will. Well, the law got them.
Woo.
I think they went to big person jail.
What seems to be the problem, Ossifer?
It flipped.
We're okay.
The car flipped.
We're good.
Wow. In midair, like a Dukes of Hazzard episode. It was pretty BA, honestly. All right, Jerry, let's talk. Jerry, you're up next on Super Talk 99.7. What's going on?
Yeah, man, I'm kind of curious. So once Trump gets settled in and they start like peeling off of all this treasonous behavior that's gone in the last 4 years, and we know Mayorkas was already impeached, can they start to prosecute some of these traitors that have done what they did to our country?
Like what traitors?
Well, like Mayorkas and what he's done with the border.
So,
like, the people that
Go ahead.
So,
Sorry.
like the people that the 1,500 that Biden just pardoned, that we're starting to realize now that they were probably spies that were working against our country, and we know that Biden and his son were getting paid for it. And once we start figuring all this out, is there going to be any kind of accountability?
I mean, there will be some. I don't expect that there's going to be trials for treason against Alejandro Mayorkas. I mean, I understand why you're frustrated. I'm frustrated too. Typically in America, except for the most egregious examples, we consider what Mayorkas was doing political acts, and we go after him in a political way. So in that way, I could make the argument, Jerry, that Mayorkas has his comeuppance, as has Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because the American people said no more of this lawlessness. We want someone that's going to follow the rule of law. Because their argument would be, and I'm not saying I agree with it, I'm just, for purposes of our discussion, if you bring him up on charges of treason, of violating his oath of office, he's going to sit in court and swear that he was doing his job to the best of his ability. Now, you and I know both that that's not true, but I think that it would get him off of the worst types of charges that we might hold him accountable. I don't know that I would call him treasonous to his country. I do think that he's anti-American Constitution. I'm going to go to this real quick. There's a press. Pardon me for interrupting, Jerry, but there's a press conference going on in Madison, Wisconsin, and the police chief Sean Barnes is speaking right now.
Madison, Wisconsin. Here are the latest updates. The reunification of students and their loved ones who survived this incident is complete. All student survivors have been reunified with their parents. We're still in the process of reunifying some of our staff. Stayed back to make sure our kids were okay. We're currently reunifying them with their loved ones as well. We do understand that this process of reunification may have taken a while, and parents really wanted to see their children, give their children a hug. Certainly I would as a father, but we are fortunate that that process is complete. As such, I want to thank the Dean Clinic. This clinic actually shut down their doors today in order to provide a space so that students who survived this incident could be reunified with their loved ones, and we thank them for doing this. At this time, we're still working on a motive, trying to determine why this happened. We know that there is some information that may be circulating about the shooter. I cannot, at this time, formally tell you the age or gender or name of the shooter. We do not want to compromise any part of the investigation. But it is important to note that later today at 8:30, I plan to give an additional update, and I believe at that time we may be able to give you the answers to some of those questions. Here's what we know again. We have 3 people who have lost their lives. 2 of those people were persons who were pronounced dead at the scene, and 1 while on the way to the hospital. Of the 6 injured and taken to local hospitals, 2 students remain in critical condition. Their injuries are life-threatening. A teacher and 3 other students were taken to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. 2 of those victims, 2 of those survivors, have been released from the hospital. So that is an update. Officers were dispatched to Abundant Life Christian School at 10:57.
Pardon us for the slight technical delay there, trying to make sure our link up is working.
Victims, professionals,
there we go.
Former law enforcement, and members of our community. If you need further assistance or want to know how you can help, you can contact the Crime Response Program. They have a daytime number of 608-284-6908. They have an after-hours number for those who may want to help at 608-376-0164, 608-376-0164. Pre-planned or planned shootings, we believe, are preventable. If you see warning behaviors from someone that is planning an attack, say something, do something. And you can report this at 1-800-MY-SUSO1, 1-800-MY-SUSO1. At this time, joining us is Director of Advancement, Barbara Weirs.
Thank you. I understand there's questions regarding the school. We're happy to answer those to the best of our ability. We have been incredibly supported by Madison Police, Madison Fire, and the paramedics. They have been absolutely amazing to us. It was quite an afternoon for the reunification process, and we had so many people stepping up to help. Our families were amazing in their patience as we worked through this. We are so grateful from the president up to the governor, the mayor. We have had so much support. This has obviously rocked our school community, but we know it affects not just our school community, but Madison and the greater area and all schools. And so our hope is that there will be some good that comes out of this as we can learn and grow and continue to support other schools.
Okay, we'll take questions. Scott, you got first credit. Chief, can you give us any details about if there were any warning signs?
You're listening to an update from Madison, Wisconsin regarding the school shooting that left 3 dead, including the shooter earlier today.
Yeah, that's what the officers and detectives are working on now. Hopefully this afternoon at our 4th press conference, I'll be able to answer that a little bit further. But right now, I cannot tell you. They're still talking to parents who are cooperating. And so hopefully we'll be able to give you a more detailed response as to any warning signs or anything that we may have possibly known prior to this.
All right, Maddie from WISC.
There's been heavy police presence at a home on the north side. Can you confirm if that's related to this?
I can confirm that it is related to this and everyone is cooperating. And so hopefully later today, if you stick around, we'll be able to give you more information about that and what we may have learned from that process. Again, this is a situation where students, teachers were injured and killed, and everyone wants to cooperate. Everyone wants to give as much information as they can so we can piece this together for our community.
Thank you.
Okay, Phoebe from Wisconsin Watch.
Yeah, hi, Chief. So, accounts online are sharing doctored and debunked photos to push a narrative about the identity of the shooter that goes far beyond what has been released publicly. Can you respond to that, and can you also say what effect that has on either the families of the victims or the public's trust in the law enforcement investigation if what you say contradicts this media or this narrative that's on social media?
Absolutely. Social media is something that, quite frankly, I can't control, and neither can anyone in this room. Everyone in here is a trusted and respectful journalist, and your word means a lot, which is why we're doing our 3rd press conference of the day to get the actual truth out to what has happened. We have a PIO, 3 of them, working today to make sure we have information. I will say this. If you're listening to this or you're at home and you're thinking about reposting or sending something that did not come from someone in this room, a trusted and respected journalist, or did not come from us, please don't do that. Because to answer the second part of your question, what that does is it does help erode the trust in this process, and that's all we have. And also, it could further fan the flames, if you will, of misinformation and of fear at a time where we need to come together and not be divided by anything.
We'll keep you up to date with everything going on with Police Chief Sean Barnes. I will say this. I don't know anything about the police chief of Madison, Wisconsin, except what I've heard through the course of the day. And I'm very impressed with his ability to provide information, to tell you what information he's not being able to provide and why and when you might have that available. So he says, although we have heard multiple media reports about the sex of the shooter, the age of the shooter, he says he cannot deliver that until a little bit later on tonight. I think he said a press conference forthcoming at about 8:30 this evening with Chief Sean Barnes and others. But right now they're providing additional information. We'll keep monitoring that and provide it for you as time allows and as that information comes out. It's 52 after the hour. This is The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
All right, we've got the very latest on the Madison, Wisconsin Christian school shooting and what the chief is saying and what the media is saying about the shooter is different. We'll let you hear it coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, it goes back to that smart guy on the radio and what he said earlier today. You better be careful about what information slides out of this thing as information gets fed to media outlets, and we've got an ongoing press conference happening right now. We're trying to monitor that in the background as we continue on the drive with Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's newscast, as he mentioned, coming up in just moments. I asked the question, where's Joe Biden? I wrote that down. That was question number 4. We played you a clip from Joe over the weekend saying that they had a scandal-free presidency. Isn't that lovely? And then we just heard from the President of the United States of America via social media. As of 11 minutes ago, the President posted this, to which he has gotten a response from one Matt Murphy at Matt Murphy Show. I will share Joe Biden's comments on the social media platform X, and then I'll share my reaction to it. Today, families in Madison, Wisconsin are grieving the loss of those who were killed and wounded at Abundant Life Christian School. It's shocking and unconscionable. We need Congress to act now. Okay. My response was, Mr. President, please tell us what precisely Congress could or would have done to prevent this tragedy. Thank you. I know one thing they could have done. They could have stopped funding Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine and given that money to various school districts around the United States of America, public and private, so that they could beef up their security measures. I mean, there's an idea. Other than that, pray tell, what could they have done, Mr. President? He's much more worried about grabbing guns than he is about the safety and security of America's school children. I promise you that. 1 more hour to go. It's The Drive. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, and eyewitnesses to today's deadly school shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin are speaking out.
I never saw so many police cars in my life, just blue and red lights lining the school, lining the street, fire department, paramedics, everybody was there.
Well, the shooter was a teenage girl, according to multiple law enforcement sources speaking to the media, specifically ABC News, but that is not what Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes just told his third news conference of the day.
At this time, we're still working on a motive, trying to determine why this happened. We know that there is some information that may be circulating about the shooter. I cannot, at this time, formally tell you the age or gender or name of the shooter. We do not want to compromise any part of the investigation.
Well, the shooter killed a teacher and a fellow student, and the shooter was dead when police arrived. Multiple other people on campus are injured, including 2 students who are critically hurt from today's shooting. President-elect Trump took several questions from reporters today at Mar-a-Lago.
At a wide-ranging news conference, President-elect Trump vowed his health secretary won't block access to the polio vaccine.
Well, I'm a big believer in it.
Still, he pointed to an increase in autism rates and said RFK Jr. will report back.
We're going to find out a lot.
Doctors insist there is no link between vaccines and autism. Trump alleged the government knows more than it's saying about drones.
For some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
And he lamented that the alleged killer of United Healthcare CEO now has a following.
How people can like this guy is, that's a sickness.
TikTok's hoping the U.S. Supreme Court steps in as soon as today to stop it from being banned. Lawyers for the Chinese-based company that owns the platform asking the justices for an emergency ruling today to stop the law, stating it sell or get banned by January 19th. The Supreme Court could temporarily put the law on hold so that justices can give full consideration to First Amendment and other issues. They also could quickly schedule arguments and try to render a decision by the deadline, January 19th, or they could simply do nothing. A Texas woman who just wanted to print a Thanksgiving recipe off the internet ended up losing her life's savings. Jim Ryan says the woman had fallen for a pop-up scam.
A pop-up window advises that the computer is infected with a virus and that the user should call a specific phone number. Over 3 days, a woman in Pasadena, Texas was convinced that she needed to move all of the funds in her bank account to what she thought was a new account. Pasadena Police Detective Jonathan Jernigan.
You just need to question everything. Every phone call you get, every email you get, every text message you get.
it. The victim in Pasadena, a woman in her 80s, handed over $150,000 to scammers.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got to crash Old Hickory Boulevard right there at I-24, then 24 westbound after Briley Parkway North, exit 43 there in Whites Creek. Right now in Rutherford County, 24 eastbound right before Sam Ridley Parkway, right lane blocked there in Smyrna. Then in Williamson County, 840 eastbound on-ramp from I-65, the on-ramp blocked there by a crash at Paytonsville. One more crash. Oh, actually, I already mentioned that one, but since I'm at it, I'll do it again. I-24. Actually, it's Old Hickory Boulevard at I-24 right there in Laverne. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you so much for being here just after 6 o'clock. Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson on the drive today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you along for the ride. Hope everything's going well in your world and on your drive. Ken Weaver rubbing it in for those in Hermitage experiencing that wreck, throwing it to them twice there.
No, that was in Laverne.
Oh, Laverne. Pardon me. Yeah. Pardon me. Wouldn't want. There's probably something going on in Hermitage too, though. I must have misheard you.
No, I'm sure there is.
Let me make sure while you're there at the mic, Weaver. Ken Weaver back in News Closet B. There's Chris Weber making sure the experience on our radio sounds as good as humanly possible, and I'm Matt Murphy. So I'm trying to understand this. We're not saying it's not a female. We're not saying she is or is not 17. The police chief is not confirming any of that that's being reported by the media.
He is not.
Okay. But he says that perhaps he's going to do that at 8:30 tonight.
8:30 tonight, he's going to give another press conference.
Okay, so there you go. So the press conference is just wrapping up out of Madison, Wisconsin as we speak at 6:07 Central Time. I would assume he's talking Central Time when he talks about 8:30. Right now, police are interviewing the school shooter's parents as we speak, according to Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes. For those just getting in your cars and maybe you're a little unaware of what we're talking about, earlier today, there was a tragic school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. Reports have it that it's a 17-year-old female, but those are media reports. Multiple media outlets are reporting that. The police chief refusing to confirm it or deny it, saying that he is not prepared at this time to share that information, that perhaps they will do so at 8:30 this evening. But what they have shared is that a teacher and a teenager lost their lives today in Madison, Wisconsin. The shooter had a 9mm pistol. The shooter took their own life, apparently, because police did not fire at any point on the shooter, and obviously no one else in the classroom had a weapon. So one would presume. I've not heard that come out of the chief's mouth or anybody else's mouth, but I think that's a safe assumption to make. Right now, the shooter's parents are being interviewed. Obviously, we got to figure out how this person illegally got the gun. If they are under the age of 18, they were not legally allowed to own, possess, or purchase a handgun. They were not legally allowed to put it on school property. They were obviously not legally allowed to shoot anybody. And so there were multiple laws that were violated that were already on the books. Already our president of the United States, or the resident, or the absent-in-chief, Joe Biden, said, we need Congress to act. And to do what, sir? I mean, whomever is writing your X post and everywhere else you put this up on Instagram and some of the other social media platforms that you couldn't get on a bet, if I offered to pay 10% to the big guy, I guarantee you he couldn't get on social media if he wanted to. Yet someone's posting this nonsense, politicizing the situation before the bodies are cold, suggesting that Congress could do something about that. Well, tell me what Congress could do exactly. Anything? Because the last time I checked, it was illegal to carry a gun on school property. Why didn't that stop the shooter? Last time I checked, it was illegal for someone under the age of majority to carry or possess or to own a firearm or to buy one. Why did that not stop the shooter? And it's obviously illegal to murder people. Why did that not stop the shooter? Congress should act in what fashion, sir? What could possibly have happened from a congressional standpoint that would have prevented this? I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen. In the meantime, Donald Trump says earlier today in a press conference of his own that he has some firm ideas. We were playing some clips of this earlier today, and it was a 1 hour and 15-minute widespread, just wholly encompassing press conference, just about everything. And Donald Trump had the ability to call on reporters just whenever they wanted to shout him out. He would answer the questions. What a refreshing event after 4 years of nonsense. After 4 years of no press conferences, none. Because Joe Biden did not have the ability to carry them on. So for all of you Trump haters that are suggesting that Donald Trump has lost a step, he did not lose a step this morning. I watched every moment of that. Well, I'll save the first couple of minutes. I missed the first couple of minutes of prepared statements, but I watched all of the question and answers, and it was a master class in resetting presumptions, resetting false narratives, and making sure that the media got it right. Donald Trump eventually was asked about the drone situation over New Jersey and New York, and this is what he had to say.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been?
All right, so Donald Trump said a lot there. I think he said a lot right at the end, too. Have you been briefed? Intelligence briefing? I don't want to comment on that. This is the straightforward Donald Trump that we need in the White House. They know. We all know they know. Look, if they don't know, we got a lot bigger problems. Just tell us you can't tell us. Tell us that you know exactly. But that's not what the Biden administration has done. I can play you the clip from last Friday. John Kirby last Friday. We don't know. We don't know. Who knows? We're trying to figure it out. Well, you're either lying to the American people or you don't know. Which is worse? Donald Trump, they know. Of course they do. And of course the military can figure these things out. Now, if it is the military, just tell us that. It's the military and it's none of your business. Question then being, why wouldn't you do this in unpopulated areas? Why are you doing this over populated areas? Well, maybe that's the point. Maybe they need to do this over populated areas. In the meantime, while we're on the subject of drones and Donald Trump, a New Jersey drone pilot said his device lost power and was forced to descend from a restricted piece of airspace while the mystery flyer that he was trying to investigate, one of the drones that was up there. So now you've got drone hunters or people with drones who are hunting the other drones. This is what happens when you're not honest with the American people, okay? You got people with shotguns and rifles ready to shoot these things out of the sky, which is probably bad. I'm just saying. Number two, you've got people that are putting their own drones in the air, trying to track down the other drones to see where the hell the other drones are going. Well, apparently Michael B., as he's known, a podcaster and paranormal investigator behind an organization called Terror Talk Productions. It sounds like a family-friendly YouTube channel. He lives near Picatinny Arsenal, an Army facility where dozens of sightings have been reported in recent weeks. He said he was flying in the area, attempting to get a closer look at an unidentified object that he believed was a drone. There was a drone, he said, just hanging out. He said this to Fox 5 New York. I had full battery life, and not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. He said he saw a warning flash across the screen of his controller and the battery died. Drone going down, dead battery. The restricted flight area shut down his drone. So he went into a restricted area. His drone got shut down. The other drone doing just fine, which means that drone either has technology that can overcome the restricted area or, wait for it, it's a part of the restricted area. And they don't want it to overcome the restricted area because they're doing something over there. This feels like a big government exercise, and it's freaking people out. And why the secrecy? Which is what Donald Trump asked. Why are we being so secretive about all of this? I don't understand how they think they can hide in plain sight, and then when all of us see what all of us see over these populated areas, they're like, we don't know. Like, that's not going to freak people out. What's your theory, Weber?
It's aliens, man. They're coming. They're here.
I mean, maybe. It would be an ultimate alien head fake. Here's the thing, I heard Chad Benson earlier today from noon to 3. I monitor my own little time slot. I need to make sure everything's going well over there. And Chad Benson said, well, they've got the required FAA lighting system on these drones, right? Like some of them have the green light on the one side and the red light on the other side or whatever. They're lighted.
Like a normal airplane.
Like a normal airplane or a normal craft would be, according to Federal Aviation Administration rules. So he says, well, if it's aliens wouldn't do that. Oh, see, you're not thinking.
Oh, they're smarter than we are, man. Come on.
4-dimensional.
Yeah.
So they would know, they know we're smart enough to say, hey, these things have lights on them. Of course they're not aliens. That's why they put the lights on there. You got to think ahead of these guys. It's like 4D or 5D chess here with the aliens. Do you believe that we have found technologies do you believe that human beings have found technologies that they cannot explain and they don't want to get out to the general public.
Absolutely. I do believe that.
I believe that too. I believe that there are entities on this earth, born of this earth, that don't think we can handle some of the things that we've discovered on earth that maybe came from somewhere else.
Yep, I agree.
I believe in that. And maybe that's what's going on. Who knows? Maybe we are just testing new technologies that we have developed as the United States of America and our military that we're going to use against our foreign enemies. Well, that's good news. But I don't understand why you wouldn't just tell us that. Just say, hey, there's some stuff that y'all don't need to know, that our enemies don't need to know about, and we're just showing off a little bit to show you that we can do certain things, and China we're watching, and Russia, or whatever it is, Iran we're watching. I do agree with one point made by Trump. And sadly, it takes the president-elect to say this, and we can't have at least a spokesperson for the current resident of the United States of America to say it. Obviously, this isn't our enemy. If it was an enemy of the United States of America doing this, we would shoot it the hell down, which is what Trump said. Instead of saying that, last week, John Kirby says to the American people, we don't know what these are. We got no clue. We got no ideas. Well, is it foreign? Well, no, of course not. It's not foreign. Well, if you don't know what it is, then how do you know it's not foreign? That doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is, of course we know. We're not going to tell you guys. National security is risked if we do tell you guys. But here's the deal. We'll tell you in due time. But the people that need to know the type of technology that we're demonstrating right now, they see it, and they know what's going down.
At least say there's nothing to be worried about, right?
Right. We're aware.
Yeah.
We've got this. We can't really talk about it, but don't worry about it. And please don't try to shoot it down with your 22 rifles or your shotguns. Is that fair? I posted on the X machine. I posted, and I stole it. I completely ripped it off from online. I would have given a hat tip or credit if I had known where it originated, but it's somebody put a white ceiling fan upside down in their backyard and said, got a drone.
Shut it down.
I was like, man, there's drones in Alabama. There's drones in Alabama. And for the most part, people got the joke. Some people said, I don't think that's a drone. Okay. All right.
If you look closely, it looks like there's a...
That looks like a ceiling fan, Matt.
I don't think they run on 110.
Okay. 21 after the hour. When we return, I've been waiting for this for all day, and I was going to start with it, and obviously some serious matters in Madison, Wisconsin got us off on a different way. But over the weekend, it was announced, I guess Friday afternoon, that's when you dump bad news if you're a media organization. ABC and George Stephanopoulos are paying Donald Trump $16 million, $15 to the Trump Foundation and $1 million to lawyers in order to settle a defamation suit. A defamation suit that most in the media say that they didn't need to settle. We'll talk about it next, and we'll tell you the backstory behind this suit, one that you need to remember as the media attempts to rewrite history. That's coming up next on Super Talk.
The ATF and the FBI on the scene of that shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin. We've got the latest from there. Also, the day's closing money news coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, that's my turn. All right, then. I'll take that. Thank you, Ken Weaver. I'm sorry. I was busy doing something very, very important. This is the real news that Ken Weaver will not tell you about. So, we're in bowl season in American foosball. And the Pop-Tarts Bowl, are you familiar, Chris Weber, with the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
No.
Okay, so
I've forgotten.
The Pop-Tarts, whoever owns, I guess,
Kellogg's, yeah.
They sponsored a bowl. And they called it the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this started last year, where they the mascot of the Pop-Tarts Bowl was
a Pop-Tart?
Pop-Tart. And
it's just a guess.
And somewhere during the game, either at halftime or after the game, I admit I was not watching last year. I will watch this year. The Pop-Tart toasted himself.
Okay. Then.
Like the Pop-Tart was dancing to some music, and there was a big toaster, and the Pop-Tart got in the toaster and went down in the toaster, and then came out below the toaster, and he was all golden brown.
Had a nice tan.
And a nice tan.
Yeah.
And I loved every
I missed that.
second of it. I am certain that it is somewhere on the social medias. Well, just earlier, I guess it was yesterday. So I missed this yesterday, but I saw it just now. The Pop-Tarts Bowl has now unveiled their new trophy that will be awarded to the winner of the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And it is in the form of, it's silver, it's pretty large, and it's like a standard trophy. The Lombardi trophy with a football on top of it?
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to that.
Okay.
Except the football is a working toaster.
Nice. I love it.
I put the Pop-Tarts
I love it.
in the trophy, put it down, pop up with some Pop-Tarts. I love it. I think it's fabulous.
Good stuff.
That's
I gotta check that out.
That is the I'm tweeting this out. This is the content I am looking for. I'm tweeting that out on my social media. Find me at Matt Murphy Show. They unveiled it. It had foil wrapping, and look, and then the Pop-Tarts came out, and then they all ate a Pop-Tart. Everybody ate a Pop-Tart right in the video.
Oh, it's a football-shaped toaster.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I want one.
That is cool.
I want one. Foosball. Foosball talk on the talk station. That's right. Yes, Pop-Tarts trophy. That is, I'm loving that.
Nice.
That is the good news of the day with all of that bad news. There's a little bit of good news. Also some good news. ABC is now having to apologize to Donald Trump. And, of course, they're not apologizing for what they really did. They're apologizing for getting caught and being sued for defamation. The Democrats and the mainstream media, but I repeat myself, they don't seem to believe that they should be held to the same standards as the rest of us. However, occasionally they are. And the doctrine of, Richard Daley said one time, the mayor of Chicago, that as Democrats, we have to apologize to no one. I'm paraphrasing him. Well, as Jonathan Turley put it earlier today, and I love Jonathan Turley, he's a professor at Georgetown and a frequent commentator on Fox News. That doctrine seems to be alive and well with many in the party when it comes to Donald Trump, but after ABC News and its anchor, George Stephanopoulos, had to apologize to Trump last week to settle a defamation lawsuit, some Democrats didn't like it very much. According to Mark Elias, the lawyer involved in the funding of the Steele dossier by the Clinton campaign, he denounced ABC News for bending the knee. And our own Phil Williams of News Channel 5 did the same thing. He said that it was stunning. It was, what did he call it? A stunning capitulation on the part of ABC News. And I challenged Phil Williams. Like, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean it's a stunt? They lied about the president of the United States of America repeatedly and refused to admit it. They did not lie. You can look at the full exchange between Phil Williams, who is a leftist, And look, the man might do fairly good investigative work over at News Channel 5. I ain't afraid of him. He is a leftist. He is invited on this show anytime. I got respect for some of his investigative work, but I don't have any respect for the fact that he puts his thumb on the scale every time he puts out a tweet. And he hates Donald Trump and everything that Trump stands for. But I'm going to call these people out. I stand for the truth. The truth matters. And they did not tell the truth about Trump. More on this in a moment, why they had to pay the suit and what all is involved in it right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, some breaking news coming out of New York where the judge in President-elect Trump's hush money case has kept the conviction intact by rejecting a bid to dismiss the verdict on presidential immunity grounds. The ATF and FBI on the scene of that shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin, where a teacher and a teenage student and the teenage shooter at the private school died. 6 others injured. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes at an evening press conference.
Of the 6 injured and taken to local hospitals, 2 students remain in critical condition. Their injuries are life-threatening.
The chief acknowledging reporting by multiple media citing sources who say the shooter was a teenage girl, but the chief says he's not ready to confirm the shooter's gender or identity and doesn't know a motive as of yet. Money News, Dave Packer.
A record high close for the NASDAQ today as tech shares rallied. The index closing up 247 points to finish at a record 2173. Shares of Google parent Alphabet, Tesla, Apple, and Broadcom, the AI chip maker, all rallying to new highs. The rising NASDAQ tide raising the broader S&P 500, that index up 23 points. But outside of tech, it was a rather ho-hum day, with the Dow falling 110 points, down for its 8th straight session. Honeywell shares rose close to 10% today after the industrial conglomerate said it was considering selling its aerospace division. An activist investor has been pushing the company to break up. Worldwide wages are higher, up 2.7% from the same time last year, but the United Nations says the recovery's been led by Asia and places like China and Russia. That while Western Europe and North America lags in wages in the G20 countries remaining below pre-pandemic levels.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, we got a crash 65 northbound right before you get to 440. It is blocking the right shoulder. Then in Williamson County, the on-ramp blocked 840 eastbound from 65. That is going to be there in Paytonsville. 840 eastbound on-ramp from 65 there at exit 31 in Williamson County. And still got that crash on Old Hickory Boulevard right there at I-24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy for another 20 minutes or so. Thank you for hanging out with Ken Weaver, Chris Weber, and myself. We'll be doing it permanently in the afternoons, really starting right after the Christmas holiday, but officially cranking up on January 2nd. It is a wonderful welcome addition to have Chad Benson replacing me in the noon to 3 slot. I have gotten to know Chad. He's a great guy, and I think you'll feel the same once you get to know him as well. Hopefully, you'll be accepting of me in the afternoon hours. I know that I'm no Brian Wilson. Trust me, I'm aware of that. But we wish Brian well in his retirement. He will be a busy beaver, taking care of honeydew lists, as well as being a part of the Super Talk family. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be doing a lot of things with us as well. All day long from 5 a.m. with Dan Manis and Nashville's Morning News, Chris Hand, the aforementioned Mr. Benson, and then Matt Murphy. That's your new lineup starting in 2025 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Is this headline real? This can't be real. I just saw this on the X machine, so it's got to be real, right? No, I kid. NBC News. Drone sightings may be causing myocarditis in young athletes. That's got to be fake.
What?
That's got to be fake.
I don't even know. What is myocarditis?
That is the heart condition that is widely – COVID-19 vaccinations have been widely considered to be a causal factor in the massive increase in myocarditis amongst our young people. And if this is true, you just don't hate the media enough, guys. You just don't hate them enough. I'll figure that out here in just a moment. All right. Let me in order for you to understand what happened here, I think you have to understand the backstory on E. Jean Carroll and what she accused Donald Trump of doing, and when she accused Donald Trump of doing it, and when she made the accusation, and what happened after that, and what ultimately happened in a court of law, and why that led to George Stephanopoulos and ABC News having to pay $16 million in defamation, or a defamation settlement to Donald Trump. And it's really going to the Trump Foundation, and $1 million going to Trump's lawyers. So ABC News, the network and the anchor, last week expressed, quote, regret for stating that Donald Trump was found liable for rape in a New York civil case. The jury did not find Donald Trump liable for rape. They did find that Donald Trump had sexually abused and defamed E. Jean Carroll. More on that in a moment. Donald Trump was never convicted of rape, was never accused of rape in criminal court, and the jury specifically declined to find him civilly liable for rape in civil court. Despite this fact, George Stephanopoulos repeated the claim 10 separate times in an interview with Representative Nancy Mace, a woman who was raped and now represents South Carolina as a Republican. He kept pressing Nancy Mace, but he was liable for rape, and she corrected him twice, and he refused the correct. No, he said. So what made the settlement interesting, which happened last week, one wonders, well, why would ABC settle, as Phil Williams of NBC or of News Channel 5? Why was it such a stunning capitulation? Well, I don't believe ABC ever thought it was going to go this far. I don't believe that ABC thought that they would be forced to apologize. You know what it would have taken for them to avoid all of this egg on their face? But they can't handle it because they hate Donald Trump too much. Here's what it would have taken. A day or two after the fact, ABC News, a Trump-hating network, understand this is the network of The View. These people absolutely hate. Y'all know The View now has a standards guy on set every show. Y'all know that, right? And that they regularly have to come back from break and read legal announcements. I mean, on the regular, they have to do this because they cannot handle themselves. They just say untrue things about Donald Trump because I guess the truth is not enough. They don't feel like the truth the truth is just not hateful enough. So George Stephanopoulos, let's say he was mistaken. Let's say he thought that Donald Trump was found liable for rape. And I understand that it sounds bad that he was found civilly liable for sexual assault, but I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Stephanopoulos comes out a day later or 2 days later or 3 days later and says, earlier in the week or 3 days ago or whatever, I interviewed Representative Nancy Mace concerning her own rape, forcible rape years ago, and the allegations against Donald Trump. I incorrectly said that Donald Trump was found civilly liable for rape. In fact, he was found civilly liable for sexual assault. I regret the error. And move on. That would have saved you $16 million. That's all you have to do. But they couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. They didn't think Donald Trump would press play on a defamation lawsuit, which he certainly did. You know why they admitted it? You know why they settled it? So a lot of folks are like, why in the world did they settle it? Phil Williams, I hope you're listening. Let me give you a little tip. They settled it because this week they were set to go into depositions. You see, this week, Judge Lewis Kaplan was ready to I'm sorry, not Judge Lewis Kaplan. That was the judge in the original case. This week, the parties in the case were set to offer their own depositions, and discovery in the case was set to begin on the part of ABC News. In other words, according to U.S. Judge Lizette Reed, that's the judge in this case, discovery was to begin with depositions for George Stephanopoulos and executives at ABC News. Through that discovery, it was expected that Trump lawyers would request any and all correspondence, email and otherwise, with ABC News regarding Donald Trump. That was their ask. Anything that you've had to say about Donald Trump in this period of time, we want that information. They aren't about to give up that information because they know they're anti-Trump and they were about to be exposed. So it's better to have that temporary egg on their face and pay off that $16 million than be fully exposed as the lying Trump haters that they are. Now, why does it matter? Well, the truth matters. And if you want to get to the truth of what happened in the E. Jean Carroll case, here's the deal. E. Jean Carroll was a New York socialite in the 1990s and 2000s. E. Jean Carroll in 2019 accused Donald Trump of sexually molesting her in a dressing room at a department store, either in 1995 or 1996. She could not remember the year. E. Jean Carroll did not mention any of this publicly until June of 2019, when she published an article for New York Magazine where she was writing entitled Hideous Men, where she stated that Donald Trump had sexually assaulted her either in 95 or 96 in the Bergdorf Goodman department store in New York City. Donald Trump's reaction was not great. I will admit to you that, because his reaction was, she's not my type, which might work as a flip line in a bar room if you didn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't work if you're president of the United States. Donald Trump denies all of this. I have a couple of significant issues with her story. Number one, why did it take you 24 or 25 years to tell it? Number two, why did you only decide to tell your story at the time that you were publishing a book called What Do We Need Men For? A Modest Proposal, which came out in 2019? In that book, she said that she ran into Donald Trump on her way out of the store, where he asked her for help for buying a gift for a woman. She suggested a handbag or a hat. They eventually moved to the lingerie section. Carol said they ended up in a dressing room together, the door of which was shut, where Donald Trump then forcibly kissed her and then manipulated his hands in areas of her body that she was uncomfortable with. A jury, a New York jury, in a civil case, determined that she was defamed when he said that he did not do this and that he was responsible for, quote, sexual assault. They declined to find him liable for rape. This case is currently on appeal. One thing you need to know, I don't believe E. Jean Carroll. If something perhaps happened in a dressing room. That is possible. Donald Trump is obviously known to have strayed from his marriage. But this accusation coming at the time that it did, for the purpose that it seemed to come, and by the way, she didn't initially file any charges. She was selling books, and she was publishing this book and coming out with this story, and it was George Conway, a known Trump hater, former husband of Kellyanne Conway, that approached her and said, hey, you need to sue Donald Trump in civil court, and you can win a lot of money. And it was only then that she decided to file the lawsuit. You might remember E. Jean Carroll was the woman who went on Anderson Cooper's show and called rape sexy. And no, I'm not making that up. She said, well, this wasn't really rape, like people think about it. Normally people think of rape as sexy. And Anderson Cooper cut to commercial because this woman is crazy. Kudos to Donald Trump and his team, and good on ABC News for at least issuing an apology and giving over the $16 million, because you didn't want that discovery to happen now, did you? It's 50 after the hour on Super Talk.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing. The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, winding down a lively Monday edition of The Drive. Thank you for being around, whether you listen on 99.7 FM or on your streaming app or perhaps watch on Talk TV. Like and subscribe us. We thank you for it. Brian Wilson back tomorrow for his edition of The Drive, a Tuesday edition. I'll be back from noon until 3, my final midday show tomorrow from noon until 3. And for those of you able to listen during the middle of the day, I appreciate you. And I'll have Senator Bill Hagerty on tomorrow at 12:35. And Congressman Scott DesJarlais. We'll talk about drones and find out what we know and what we don't know. Donald Trump says the United States knows. I just got in my inbox a very interesting theory that is supported with a very official-looking piece of documentation. And this is from a loyal listener to The Drive and Supertalk 99.7 WTN. The suggestion has been made that by 8568 that they are looking for lost nuclear material with the drones. That all of these drones are simply American drone technology that the United States military has, and the reason that we're noticing is because there's so many of them. But the documentation that he has provided, or she, I don't know, he or she, is from the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and it is a report. Current event notification. I have no idea if this is real or not, by the way. No idea. But it looks a fish. So, and I like this theory. This theory might be the leader in the clubhouse for me right now. That somehow in transport, someone stole nuclear material. Like for the creation of a nuclear bomb. This is the theory. And we don't want anybody to know that someone stole our stuff. And we don't want the American people to realize that some bad guys have nuclear material. And so we're trying to find it as quickly, as swiftly as possible without telling everybody what we're looking for. And here's the document. So, and I've got to go closer because it's real. Because I need glasses. That's why. It's an incident report from December 5, 2024. Notification time, 11:32 Eastern Time. Event date happened on December 2nd, 2024. The following information was provided by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection via email. The licensee reported to the NJDLP on December 3rd that a PIN source that they sent for disposal has been lost in transit December 2nd. The source is an Eckhart and Zeiger model, and they go into some of the details, with current approximate activity of 0.206 MLC. I don't know what all of this means. The shipping container arrived at its destination damaged and empty. The licensee has filed a claim with the shipper. If the source is not located within the 30 days, the licensee will follow up with a full written report to include root causes and corrective actions. All right, so I have no idea if what I just read to you is true or not. But the idea is that they were transporting spent or unspent nuclear material and that somebody got in there and stole the nuclear material, and they're trying to prevent the public from knowing it, and they're trying to find it with drones that one would presume have some sort of ability to sense nuclear material or whatever on them, and they're trying to get as many out as possible. What do you think?
I think it's plausible. I just did a Google search as well, and Newsweek ran an article with this a few days ago that had a quote from an aerospace manufacturer that he felt the same thing. Yeah.
You know, why not just tell us?
Yeah.
We're big boys and big girls. We can handle it. Why not just, we could help. We can maybe help find the random nuclear material that's
my Geiger counter.
I don't know. That's my choice number one. 1A is still space aliens. That's going to wrap it up for The Drive. For Chris Webber, for Ken Weaver, Matt Murphy, thank you for being with us this evening. Mark Levin is up next. We'll be back tomorrow at high noon. Until then, so long, everybody.